but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
The United States imposing new sanctions targeting Russia's weapons program.
Action by the Treasury and State Departments takes aim at hundreds of companies and people tied to Russia's weapons development program. The sanctions also penalize more than a dozen Chinese entities accused of helping Moscow evade earlier sanctions. Individuals linked to the death of Kremlin opposition leader Alexei Navalny are also targeted by the U.S. A statement from the Treasury Secretary said the action will further disrupt and degrade Russia's war efforts against Ukraine. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The death toll has climbed to 48 as search efforts continue in southern China after a highway section collapsed in a mountainous area, sending more than 20 vehicles down a steep slope. The collapse happened around 2 yesterday morning after a month of heavy rains in a mountainous part of Guangdong province. Vehicles plunged down a ravine and then burst into flames. Search work hampered by ongoing rain as well as landslides. Townhall.com. A sea change in the rules governing a major Protestant denomination, at least in the U.S.
Delegates from the United Methodist Church voted 692 to 51 to remove a rule forbidding, quote, self-avowed practicing homosexuals, unquote, from being ordained or appointed as ministers. The change doesn't mandate or even explicitly affirm LGBTQ clergy, but it means the church no longer forbids them. It's possible that the change will mainly apply to U.S. churches, since United Methodist bodies in other countries have the right to impose the rules for their own regions. The measure takes effect immediately upon the conclusion of the General Conference, scheduled for May 3rd. I'm Haya Panjwani.
A federal judge today scheduled to sentence a California scuba dive boat captain for criminal negligence after 34 people died in a fire on the vessel in 2019. More on these stories at townhall.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Some heavy rain for parts of the area. Not everyone moves east and out overnight. We're going to be dry in the morning, a low of 65 degrees. A high of 87 for a warm day and a lot of dry time. Just watch the evening and nighttime for some showers and storms. Very low chance that we get a strong storm in the early evening. Better chance that that's going to be farther to the west of the St. Louis metro. But again, a warm, mainly dry day. Watch for a few showers and storms in the evening and nighttime. Friday, mainly morning rain. We can't rule out a few showers redeveloping in the afternoon, otherwise a high of 77 degrees. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Replacing your roof is always a big deal and a big decision. That's why I want you to call my friends, the folks that we've trusted with our homestead, Eureka Contracting and Roofing. 636-938-ROOF. That's 636-938-ROOF. They are veteran-owned, over 30 years of experience in the construction and insurance industry. They'll replace 100% of your roof, siding, fascia, and gutters. They'll come to you with a personal consultation. Give them a call anytime that Mother Nature strikes you. 636-938-ROOF. Available 24/7 at eurekacontracting.com. That's eurekacontracting.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
What happens next?
President Biden may change his policy toward Israel.
Happens right here.
Obviously, Netanyahu is sending a very firm message over the call.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. I'm Jessica Rosenthal. Is it now time for marijuana to be considered less harmful in the eyes of the federal government? A process has begun to examine whether or not we should reclassify cannabis.
In my view, there's ample evidence that this continues to be harmful, addictive, and that we should not legalize it.
I'm Dave Anthony. China remains the U.S.'s fiercest competitor, which keeps leading to conflict.
No one wants to go to war with China. I certainly don't want to do that. The more integrated our economy is on our terms with the rest of the world, the more integrated we are diplomatically and militarily with the rest of the world, the less likely that sort of conflict is going to be.
We speak with Senator Michael Bennet.
And I'm Dr. Mark Siegel. I've got the final word on the Fox News Rundown.
Earlier this year, Health and Human Services recommended that cannabis be reclassified as a Schedule III drug, like ketamine and certain steroids, rather than a Schedule I drug, like heroin and acid. A group of Democratic senators then went further, asking the DEA to eliminate it as a controlled substance entirely. President Biden said this in March at his State of the Union.
Directing my cabinet to review the federal classification of marijuana and expunging thousands of convictions for the mere possession, because no one should be jailed for simply using or have it on their record.
A Justice Department statement says the Attorney General has circulated a proposal to reclassify marijuana from Schedule I to Schedule III. For years, federal laws have been in conflict with several states' laws, as cannabis is now legal in 24 states for adult recreational use and another 13 states on top of that just for medicinal. 2 years ago, a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee heard testimony about changing marijuana's classification. Maryland Dr. Malik Burnett told the senators that marijuana convictions have harmed minorities the most.
People of color are 4 times more likely to be arrested despite equal use across race. Black men receive 13.1% longer sentences for the same crime as their white counterparts.
The police chief of Annapolis, Edward Jackson, argued that cannabis itself isn't the problem.
Prohibition is what fuels violence and crime, not cannabis. Just as alcohol prohibition funded Al Capone, today's cannabis prohibition funnels millions of dollars to street gangs and cartels who use violence to protect their profits.
But former Associate Deputy Attorney General Stephen Cook, who argued against weakening cannabis rules, said legalization has cartels simply growing marijuana inside states that have legalized it rather than smuggling it.
By one estimate, 5 years after legalization in California, legal marijuana made up only 10 to 20% of the state's marijuana market.
Another witness urged the senators to examine the health and mental health impacts of regular cannabis use, including episodes of psychosis, pointing out that the level of THC in cannabis, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, has more than tripled in recent decades.
I was head of the conversation of then, and it was regularly pushed by those that wanted to actually legalize marijuana.
Asa Hutchinson is the former governor of Arkansas and was once head of the DEA.
And it started with the reclassification out of Schedule I. And Schedule I puts marijuana in the category of a drug of significant abuse, dependence, and considered dangerous. And having that, and most importantly, that there was not any medical use for that drug.
Right.
And so whenever we see over a dozen states now has medical marijuana, that clearly there's a movement for reclassification. And so it's not a surprise to me. It's been in the offing a long time. President Biden set the stage for it when he directed a review of it.
And even if it's not a surprise, especially given how many states have legalized it, what are your thoughts about it? Do you have an opinion? Do you have a strong opinion?
Well, I think it reflects the reality of today's both culture, but also the public sentiment. That's most significant. And while the medical community still has not arrived at the conclusion that marijuana is beneficial for medical purposes, the public has arrived at the conclusion that it is. And so the reclassification is understandable. My view on it is that it should be emphasized that while this is a dramatic change in the reclassification, it is still a controlled substance, and marijuana remains illegal for recreational use. And so it doesn't solve the challenge for 24 states that have authorized recreational use of marijuana, and that conflict with federal law remains.
But does it decriminalize it to a certain extent, right? Like you can't be caught trafficking pounds of it, but if it's, next to ketamine and steroids as opposed to heroin, I imagine there are certainly different consequences.
Well, the punishments will have to be brought in line, and of course, unless you're distributing large quantities of marijuana, simple possession of it or use of it has really minimal consequences, small fine and administratively handled in many states. But it will certainly limit the penalties since it now has been recognized as a legitimate medical substance. It will remain illegal. And while it can be authorized for medical purposes, as it is in many states already, it doesn't change the fact that someone can't buy it for recreational purposes, somebody can't transport it across state lines, and there's still serious consequences to the fact that it continues to be an illegal substance.
Governor, do you think this is a done deal? I mean, I know it first has to go through a rule change process, right, and published in the Federal Register. There's a public comment period. Even Congress could intervene. But do you think that's even likely? Like, does this look like it's going to happen?
Oh, it does. It absolutely looks like it's going to happen. And I think the only questions are what kind of adjustments they need to make in the rules for the different states that have recreational use, and whether the DEA is going to have a highly intensive regulatory environment that steps on some of the states' action in regards to medical use and recreational use, and how aggressive the federals will be whenever it is classified as a Schedule III, but continues to be a regulated and illegal substance that has an adverse health impact. And, the scientists continue to make a comparison to tobacco smoke. And if you're going to smoke marijuana, you have the same risk as if you're smoking tobacco.
One of the big things here is that Schedule I drugs, as you've already noted, are considered to have no medical benefit. And rescheduling this is supposedly the administration conceding that there might be medical benefits. As you've already noted, most Americans think there might be some medical benefit. But further, that this opens the door to actually studying marijuana or cannabis. Is that the case? Well, might we be opening the door to actually discovering a different level of medical benefit if we're going to go down this road?
That's absolutely true. That was one of the concerns that when marijuana was in Schedule I, that it was very difficult to research, even though we did have some medical research and some federally authorized research, it was limited. And so going to Schedule III, there's going to be a lot more studies. There's going to be a lot more ability to monitor health consequences in a legal fashion, because it will be used for medical purposes. And so, yes, it will be easier to study, and hopefully that will be beneficial over the long term. Right now, as being in Schedule III, you have to remember there is a potential for dependence, both physical dependence and psychological dependence on marijuana, and that will be continued to be studied as well.
Yeah, there do seem to be some studies that indicate a lot of things, mostly harmful things, at least that I'm coming across. I know that the folks who advocate for marijuana say there are incredible benefits, but it seems like there are more and more negative articles coming out, including linking heart attack and even heart failure to possible regular cannabis use. There are quite a few articles that I've come across linking mental health issues, including temporary psychosis, to regular cannabis use. And a lot of this surrounds a discussion about potency. That this is, I think the Yale School of Medicine has one article, and it's called, this is not your grandma's marijuana. And it's about like this notion that if THC levels used to be at like 5%, they're now at like 20% in a cannabis flower. Should we be concerned about that? Could that derail this effort? Like, we're going to have a public comment period. Do you anticipate a lot of this will maybe be a feature of those who advocate against this?
It will be, and the medical community needs to step up to the plate and make sure they comment on the concerns that they have to long-term health, heart disease, mental retention, IQ level, and the workplace also needs to comment about productivity level of being a concern for those that are under marijuana addiction or use. And the key is that we've always had medical marijuana. It was in the form of a pill called Marinol. And so a doctor could prescribe the THC content or the health benefits that's needed through a Marinol pill. But the problem is that everybody does not want a pill. They want to smoke marijuana. And that's where the larger health consequences come in through. Just like tobacco smoking, you have the carcinogens, you have the risk of cancer and heart disease, as well as the traditional challenges of potential addiction.
This wouldn't suddenly mean people in the cannabis industry can do banking or whatever. I know that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said he still wants to work on cannabis banking legislation. So there are other aspects of this that this doesn't resolve. But the Majority Leader said he also wanted to remove marijuana as a controlled substance altogether. I think there are some other senators who agree with him. Do you think that's where this is heading, to a place where cannabis is eventually sold like alcohol, and like you said, tobacco, and regulated as such?
Well, the question is, does society want another harmful product that has increased usage among the public and particularly young people? And it's conceded statistically that whenever you move toward legalization or regulatory environment, you take away the legal penalties, the usage is going to go up. And so I hope that any consideration for moving it off schedule and making it totally legal is put way off into the future. This gives us an opportunity as a Schedule 3 to actually study it and see more of the long-term health issues that are involved here, and then make a wise decision down the road. In my view, there's ample evidence that this continues to be harmful, addictive, and that we should not legalize it, and that's what happens if you take it off of a regulated substance.
Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, it's great to be with you today. Thank you.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle. Unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
If spring allergies keep you trapped inside, then you need Navage Nasal Care to keep you breathing clearly and enjoying all the beauties of spring. Navage helps clear nasal passages that are often clogged because of seasonal allergies. Navage gently flushes a pure, refreshing saline solution through your nasal passages to clear out congestion, sucking out that springtime pollen and other irritants trapped in your nose. Navage is available online at Navage.com or in stores at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A.
Columbo and Katie.
With just 2 weeks left of the Missouri legislative session, a historic filibuster brought things to a standstill in Jeff City this week. We'll get an update on what's happening Thursday from Rep. Justin Sparks at 2:20.
Weekdays at 2
on Newstalk STL.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on Newstalk STL 1019. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Ken's sporting a really cool Trump 24 hat that our friend Grant sent us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Grant. I'm actually wearing mine.
What's that supposed to mean?
Because you're not.
Because we took them both home.
I did not.
He said, you can't have them, I'm having both. And then he wore it, that's why.
I did not. Vic didn't want to mess up his hair.
Hey, at least I got hair.
And you
want to go?
Oh, okay, so
you want to go?
Discriminating against follically challenged individuals.
I'm harassed.
You're harassed.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9
on Newstalk STL.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
Our left groups who are paying for and likely stoking these campus protests today. At least 1.3 million came from two liberal foundations, the Rockefeller Brothers and George Soros.
Liberal billionaire George Soros is the largest shareholder of Odyssey,
the parent company of KMOX and 97.1 Talk.
And when he controls what's on the radio stations, he's going to be able to control the mind, potentially hundreds of millions of Americans.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one
for
conservative talk.
This is Newstalk STL.
Plus, setup couldn't be easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox.
In Fox News.
It's the latest when you need it, on demand from Fox News and Amazon Alexa. Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. I'm Ted Lindner. This is the Fox News Rundown. Shots were fired at an apartment complex in Fort Worth, Texas Wednesday night, leaving multiple people injured. David Santendry with Fox affiliate KDFW in Dallas with more.
6 people shot, 5 transported to hospitals, all shot during a drive-by shooting outside of this apartment complex. One neighbor tells me she heard rapid fire followed by screaming when it all happened. We heard from Fort Worth Police Department's chief.
There's absolutely no reason anybody should be conducting themselves in such a violent, careless, heartless way that children should be shot.
No arrests have been made. Police have not released a description of that suspect vehicle used in the drive-by shooting, but they say they are working to gather video evidence from this area in hopes of finding out specifically what that vehicle looked like.
One victim listed in critical condition, another victim in serious condition. It's a special day for people of faith across the country. Fox's Ryan Schmelz.
The National Day of Prayer encourages people of all faiths to turn to God in prayer and meditation. President Biden says prayer has helped him himself and the First Lady, quote, find solace during tough times and stay grounded in good ones. President Truman proclaimed the first observance of the National Day of Prayer back in 1952, and President Reagan moved the date to the first Thursday of May. This year's theme is Lift Up the World, Light Up the World, which organizers for the National Day of Prayer say is meant to give thanks to those who, quote, volunteer, pray, and give generously to be light and fight for the soul of America together. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
And in New York City on this Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, I'm Ted Lindner. This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Have the left-wing lunatics lit anything else on fire on college campuses? We'll talk to Steve Bucci at 4:25 about all that. At 5:25, Chris DeGaulle of the Herzog Foundation.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Weekdays at 4
on News Talk STL.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for Customer Satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
Looking to get a new carpet, hardwood, or tile installed quickly and efficiently in your home? Look no further than Michael's Flooring Outlet. Michael's Flooring Outlet is a family-owned and operated business with a 30-year history of offering a diverse array of high-quality options in flooring. My parents and in-laws used Michael's to rip up their old carpet and replace it, and they are both happy with the product and installation from Michael's. You can shop at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Darting Prairie, or St. Peters, or you can check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restore Neuropathy treatment program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peter's location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, listen up. CarShield is a low-cost monthly vehicle protection plan now available to you. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Please call 800-925-7584 for a free quote. Drivers who activate today will also receive free roadside assistance and towing at no additional cost. That is 800-925-7584 right now. On this Thursday, the Joe and Kamala softball tour continues, with the vice president appearing on Drew Barrymore's morning television show. I don't know Miss Barrymore, but she looks like a nice person. However, political chats might not be her forte. From the jump, the Drew-Kamala interview was, well, a box of chocolates, to quote Forrest Gump. Drew saying, quote, "We all need a mom. I've been thinking that we all need a tremendous hug. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country." To which the vice president replied, "Yeah." Now, that exchange wasn't at the level of the Joe Biden-Howard Stern smoocherama, but it was close. Mamala and Drew bonded just as Joe and Howie did. Hugs all around. Yes, it is an election year, and the Democrats know they have a vast, safe space with the American media. At this point, the Biden campaign understands it can avoid all tough questioning, kind of like what Putin does. Will this hugs strategy work? I don't think so. Joe and Kamala look weak participating in the media nonsense. And besides, shouldn't Trump be getting a few hugs? Let's call it Trumala or something. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you. For more than a decade, they have successfully helped over 20,000 owners get out of their timeshare with an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. Customer service is their priority. For a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today, highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
All right, folks, let's get started. Parents, thanks for coming. As many of you know, I'm Coach Mather. Tonight I want to talk about the season, of which I only have one expectation, that everybody gets stronger. When I say get stronger, I'm not referring solely to physical strength. Sure, we'll be in the weight room, we'll be running stairs, but we're also going to focus on developing mental toughness and grit. Because those are the characteristics that allow us to achieve greatness both on and off the court. So, how do we develop those things? By getting comfortable with a challenge, by cultivating the confidence necessary to overcome adversity in all forms. That's why I coach. That's my purpose. Every member of this team can lean on me, and I'll teach them how they can lean on themselves and each other.
This message presented by the MSH SAA and the Missouri Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile.
So when you're mobile, stay mobile.
Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you
wherever you go.
Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Let's get the day started right. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right, let's review what happened, what did not happen at that pro-Hamas demonstration, protest, whatever you want to call it, on SLU's campus last night. Did you see any of it? Did you experience any of the ripple effects? Anything like that, let me know. 314-912-1019. Hey, good morning. Mike Ferguson here. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your Thursday morning. We're going to have updates on that and what's happening on the other campuses, which is now spilling into off-campus areas as well around the country. Listen, friends, this isn't just a bunch of college kids acting out. We are talking about the foothold of an overtly Marxist movement in this country. Do we have the guts to push back against it? So that's part of what we're talking about today. One of the things that the Biden administration and the Biden campaign obviously really have to convince people is that no, the economy is actually really good. Trust us. And one of the areas that they are losing ground when it comes to voters is with minority voters, particularly black voters, and specifically even black male voters. That's how deeply they break people up into groups when they're doing campaigns. And so, well, the Biden administration is dispatching their secret weapon to convince minority voters to continue to vote for the Biden administration for re-election, and that would be the vice president. Yeah, we talked to Rick Manning from Americans for Limited Government about that on Wednesday's show. He has some great insight, and here's what he had to say. The Biden administration says, boy, we got to get people fired up about Bidenomics. We got to really reach out to those swing state voters, especially those minority voters who are feeling the pinch of Bidenomics. So we're going to send out Kamala Harris to be the salesperson for Bidenomics. Am I close to to assessing the game plan on that right now?
That is the game plan, because she polls really well they're targeting, this is the interesting part, Mike, they're targeting black males. Okay. This is an astonishing admission that the Biden campaign, 5 or 6 months before the election, is in trouble with black males. Now, we've seen polling that's indicated before, but I don't believe polling until I started seeing campaigns act on the polling. And sending Kamala Harris out for as poor of a spokesperson as she is, to try to make a case that the Biden administration has been good for black males who have rejected Bidenomics in a massive way. I mean, polls show that black males are dropping away from voting for Biden in significant numbers. And that's the difference between winning Georgia and losing Georgia. That's the difference between winning Michigan and losing Michigan. That's the difference between winning Pennsylvania and losing Pennsylvania. So they're scared to death over this. And yes, Kamala Harris, who can't put 7 words together without making a salad, is busily explaining Bidenomics to black male voters who kind of know, based on what they're experiencing, that it's been bad. And it's just astonishing. It shows you how weak they are. You don't lead with an unpopular vice president unless you have a popular president, and they can't trust Joe Biden to go out on the snot and talk to people, because every time he does, it ends up on YouTube.
Good morning, Rick. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So I'm actually surprised that they chose Kamala Harris for this job, because as far as I remember, she doesn't particularly pull well with black male voters either. Or am I reading that wrong?
Did they oversample all of the black men she put in prison in California?
They undersampled.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, she doesn't poll well with black men. She polls slightly better than Joe Biden does.
Okay. I gotcha. That's the best of what's left, I guess.
It's astonishing that a party that made being a black female a criteria for being chosen for vice president 4 years later doesn't have anybody who can credibly talk to black males. It's astonishing failure of not only their policies, but the personalities that have chosen to lead it. And, I'm just mind boggled by it. But folks, I mean, realize inflation hits people in the lower 40% quintile of the low 40% of the economic classes more than it hates everybody else. Because people, the less money you have, the more you're spending on staples. You don't have a lot of extra dough. And when things go up out of your control and you don't have things you can cut, you're in trouble. And the Biden administration, that's what inflation does. And their answer is, we're spending a lot of money here to try to fix this problem. And apparently economics has been, wasn't allowed to be taught in the schools that they went to, because spending a lot of government money is the reason inflation exists. So they're saying we're dumping a bunch of money, and they said this. They literally say this out loud. We're dumping a bunch of money to solve this problem, which is an inflation problem, and the money they're spending just causes more inflation and devalues the dollar more. It's astonishing. It's such bad economics. It's almost unbelievable. But yeah, that's their argument. They're hoping that economic illiteracy will win the day. The problem they have is the price of gas, the price of eggs, and the like. People aren't illiterate about that, and they can't run away from it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to read Hayek or Mises or somebody like that, or even on the left to get the basic terms to understand. it sucks right now. Things are more expensive right now, and it's happened in the last 2.5 years or so. So, Rick, is this a matter of trying to keep them going to the polls, or are they worried about them going to the polls and voting for Trump or voting for RFK or voting for somebody else? Because I mean, this is a demographic when you're talking about black male voters that typically overwhelmingly votes for Democrats, but has been starting to shift a little bit towards Republican over the last couple. So what's the end game? Preserve the votes or preserve them coming out to the polls in hopes that they'll hold their nose and vote for Democrats?
Well, they want them to come out and vote for Biden. That's because, as you said, these are votes that they're losing. So if black voters don't go out and vote, that's a half a vote that they lost. Trump may not have gotten it on his side of the ledger, but they got it. But they didn't get it on theirs. So they need blacks to come out in the record numbers that they came out in 2020, and come out and vote in 85 to 15, 88 to 12, which I think is what it was in 2020, in favor of Biden. If they don't, if the number just goes to 80-20, that's a massive loss of votes in critical areas for Biden. And so they can't afford any attrition because they're not picking up votes anywhere else.
Hey, good morning. Rick Stalponticus here. So regarding Kamala, boy, when all you're known for really is your cackle, I think there's a problem there. I'm just saying. But if it's all about the economy, stupid, as we heard a few years ago, how are they going to avoid the problems of inflation, debt, and crazy spending? Because I don't see any way out of it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the messaging to overcome that?
Well, their messaging is, we're pouring a lot of money into your community. Mm-hmm. You should be thankful for the amount of money we're pouring into your community. You should, and as a result, they're attempting to create through traditional, spending money on programs and stuff, create traditional coalitions. Unfortunately for them, they're not credible messengers in terms of that. And their hope in terms of inflation is that it doesn't show up. This big spend doesn't show up in the numbers until after they voted. So if you spend it now, so you spend it over the next 5 months, the hope is it doesn't hit the numbers, doesn't hit the actual shelves in terms of price increases until 2025. Reality of this is, this administration is attacking our agriculture community, and deliberately through environmental regs that they deal specifically with the fertilizers that increase production. They are attacking our agriculture community in terms of environmental regs that make it harder to farm. And as a result, when you attack the people who grow the food, don't expect food not to be more expensive. When diesel costs are so high that the farmers are saying, I'm not going to plant that field because I can't afford to run the tractor to take care of it and to plow it out and then harvest it. When they do that, they take fields out of production, and that's the goal. Their goal is to do that because they're trying to change the way the world operates through driving fuel costs so high that people like that those changes occur. And so the higher food costs is part of their plan. They can't run away from their plan. And so now they're trying to trick people into saying, well, I'm going to give you a bunch of goodies up front in this election year and pay no attention to the fact that on the back end, not only are we causing inflation from a monetary standpoint, but we're causing it based on a regulatory regime that is hurting farmers and driving costs up by driving supply down. That is the reality. That's what they're doing, and now they're trying to run it back and trick people one more time. And the fact of the matter is, I think America has gotten wise to them. And the amazing part is, the more they go after Donald Trump and try to put him in jail, the more black men look at that and they say, that's what they've been doing to us. They've been targeting us. And so the reality is, when rappers come out and say, Hunter Biden got off on a gun charge that I ended up getting thrown in the pokey for, and they're out talking about this, that two-system set of justice that they've created blacks have felt that there's been a
two-tier you're thinking of.
Two-tier justice, two-tier justice system for a long time. I've only said this for like 20 years. Two-tier justice system for a long, long time. And as a result, the more they go after Trump with made-up charges, the more blacks say that's what they do to us, and the more empathy they have for Trump. They're trapped in their own lawfare universe where inflation's bad. They're being rejected by an audience that has traditionally voted for blacks or voted for Democrats for 50 years, and now they're making the president of the United States, their opponent, into a sympathetic figure in the black community. I don't know how they could do more, how they could make less of a case and create more of a crisis for themselves. But these people are pretty good at creating crises. Now they're the victims of their own crisis. So it's just astonishing. And I've watched the polling. Truthfully, I didn't believe the polling, even though we've written about it a lot. I didn't believe it. But now that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are out stumping and trying to make it so they can appeal to black male voters, tells me that the polling that is seen in the national level, their internal polls that they take that they don't release, must be disastrously bad.
Rick, I was going to ask how, if you were going to make any predictions, how well this information campaign was going to go, but it sounds like you're very pessimistic about the Democrats being able to dupe us again this time. So do you think these changes that we're seeing in the demographics of the vote may actually pan out during the election?
Yeah, I think that first of all, it's the turnout machine the Democrats have is pretty incredible, particularly their inner city turnout machine. Sure. And so I have I always view these kind of numbers with a bit of skepticism. What I know is if they have to spend money, and in a world of even limited resources for them, and if they have to spend money trying to get their base voter to vote for them and to care about them enough to go to the polls, if they, enough to send in a mail-in ballot or give it to somebody who walks by and collects it, if they're having to worry about that and spend money on that and spend brain power on that, that's disastrous. You never want to be consolidating your base this late into a campaign. They should have had you need to have your base consolidated early on. And the only thing they've really got to tell their base is Trump bad. And at some point, when things are costing you too much, when you're seeing your jobs being affected by policies and it's kind of just out of control, you sit there and you say, wait a second, we need to change. This isn't working. And the great news is the more people of color are being integrated in a meaningful way into the economy, where they have businesses, they have success, they have something to hold on to and not just government dependency, the less they're going to buy the garbage the Democrats are selling.
Let's get things going with that morning news dump just ahead right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
What is your message to Iran in this moment?
Don't. News, analysis, opinion.
Iran celebrating their attack towards Israel.
101.9 and 94.1.
This administration has lost their capability to deter Iran.
News Talk STL.
Freedom isn't just a word. It should be a way of life for all Missourians. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a state where you're free from excessive taxes, regulations, and corporate handouts, and free to send your children to the school of your choice? That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together our 2024 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can progress to a bright future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from a Bill of Rights for parents to government transparency, school report cards, healthcare reform, and more. Our vision is for Missouri to be a place where entrepreneurs can pursue their dreams, parents are free to direct the education of their children, and a growing economy provides opportunities for all. Critical to achieving this vision is a government that understands the value of freedom in the lives and future of our people. Check out our 2024 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Severs JCB has amazing deals on JCB mini excavators ranging from 2 tons to 10 tons. It's your choice to take 5 on one of these great offers. 0% financing for 5 years or up to $5,500 cash rebate and a 5-year warranty. See terms and conditions for details, but don't wait too long. These offers are for a limited time at Severs JCB, and check out their full line of industry-leading JCB equipment. Check them out online at seversjcb.com.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Carter. Did you know that every day 10,000 baby boomers turn 65 and need help deciphering their Medicare options? I want to tell you about my lifelong friend, Pamela Berry, Pilgrim Pammy. She has over 2 decades of experience dealing with Medicare insurance. She's an expert specializing in business owners, but she can assist you too. She'll help you navigate and uncomplicate Medicare. With nearly 70 plan options, special enrollments may be available. Call Pilgrim Pammy at 314-659-9841.
The tides are changing.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The Democratic Party doesn't stand with what I stand for.
News Talk STL.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out.
They got all the news.
The Morning News Dump.
Mostly peaceful. I think this time you can actually use that term.
I think that would be accurate.
Yeah, mostly peaceful. We've got the update on the latest anti-Semitic protest in St. Louis just ahead. Also, there's another ballot initiative that you need to know about. This one went under the radar.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are headed back to Busch after losing the series in Detroit. All right, 5:53 right now. Hamas supporters marched around SLU's campus, chanted, had their signs, including at least one that said "From the river to the sea," and blocked traffic along Grand as part of the latest anti-Israel protest in St. Louis that happened last night. No reports of injuries. Doesn't look like there were any wide-scale physical confrontations, although there are reports and there is some video of some counter protesters, just a couple of them being accosted and being attacked when they showed up with Israeli and, God forbid, U.S. flags. That happened. Hundreds of protesters voiced their opposition to basically anything and everything Israel, and of course demanded that the university divest from Boeing as part of the leftist temper tantrum that some St. Louis leaders called beautiful.
I think the rain in Midtown probably tampered things down a bit.
I think you're right. Yeah, I was looking at, I think that was probably helpful for everybody, including the leftists who weren't really given as much of an opportunity to get out of hand, because there are people there who wanted that to get out of hand. But it just didn't. I actually was looking at some of the Twitter. We mentioned Rasheed Aldridge yesterday, one of the aldermen in St. Louis. He, because we talked about his plans to, do cannabis cafes, but he was commenting on the planned protest, and he said, time to get off our protest shoes or marching shoes from Ferguson. And then he, at one point in the replies, he actually tweeted out, from Ferguson to Palestine. So that's the mindset that you're dealing with St. Louis City Hall.
Interesting.
Yeah, gross is what it is. Okay, Secretary of State Antony Blinken reiterates that the U.S. says it supports Israel, but is not supporting a planned operation in Rafah. He was in Ashdod, Israel, when he said this.
We will not support a major military operation in Rafah absent an effective plan to make sure that civilians are not harmed. And no, we've not seen such a plan.
Once again, if Israel were not concerned with minimizing civilian deaths and casualties, this entire thing would have been done on October 8th. And anybody associated with Hamas would be smeared on the ground somewhere, which is where they deserve to be. Okay, let's see here. Let's do this. The Biden administration officials were testifying before Congress yesterday, and this is one that didn't really hit the headlines until after it was starting to happen. And they were testifying at a hearing about their attempts to control the narrative regarding vaccines during the pandemic. Actually, it wasn't even really a pandemic when you look at the numbers out. It was a fear-mongering pandemic, but during the COVID era. Let's put it that way. That's how I like to put it. Congressman Jason Smith from Missouri was on Fox Business Network's The Evening Edit show with Elizabeth McDonald, and here's what he had to say.
It is so disturbing to see that this behavior that came from the Biden White House to suppress information that Americans needed to know about COVID. It's crazy that even the social media companies would allow this to be done.
Of course, in the Biden administration and their officials are saying, no, we were trying to curb vaccine misinformation is what they were saying. Of course, Republicans arguing that the administration effort was basically just free speech violations. And even worse than that, it was that, but even worse than that, it was just trying to take an authoritarian control of what people are allowed to think.
It was tyrannical style.
Yep. All right. So we'll see what comes out of that. My guess is probably nothing would be my guess. All right. Newest member of the Hall of Famous Missourians got to see a statue for the first time on Wednesday. A bust of former Mizzou basketball coach Norm Stewart was unveiled at the Capitol. Stewart led the Tigers from 1967 through 1999. He won Coach of the Year honors 2 times and took Mizzou to the NCAA tournament 16 times, won the Big 8 championship, I think another 8 times or so. Wilson Contreras' 4th inning home run was all the Cardinals could muster against the Tigers on Wednesday in Detroit. Final score there, 4-1. Miles Michaelis now drops to 2-4 on the season. Redbirds are off today, back at home for a series against the White Sox starting on Friday.
You wouldn't believe how many of my friends have asked, you going to any of the White Sox games over the weekend?
White Sox?
I don't want to see a bad team.
No.
I'm sorry.
Looking for a cruise vacation? Cruise.com is offering its exclusive Sale of the Year to all listeners to this station. Every major cruise line, including Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Princess, MSC, and more, are on sale now. Call 1-800-507-9264 and book one of these deals while supplies last. Cruises start from as low as $39 per person per day. There isn't a better vacation value to places like Alaska, Europe, the Caribbean, South America, and more. Call one of the largest cruise specialists in the world at 1-800-507-9264. We'll find you a vacation that includes drinks, Wi-Fi, excursions, and more. Call 1-800-507-9264. That's 1-800-507-9264. Space is limited. Don't miss your opportunity to book the best deal of the year. That's 1-800-507-9264. Sponsored by Cruise.com.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared? Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable, final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. At UCLA, police have started removing protester barricades. Earlier, anti-Israel, anti-America demonstrators were ordered by police to leave or face arrest. The BBC's Tana Humphrey at UCLA says the demonstrators were chanting, "We're not leaving," while calling on other people to join them.
What you can also hear in that encampment is the sounds of hammering. We believe that inside, the protesters have been trying to reinforce those barricades.
Elsewhere, police have dismantled an encampment at New Hampshire's Dartmouth College. as Secretary of State Blinken urges Hamas to accept the latest Israeli ceasefire proposal. Correspondent Josh Fetterman in Jerusalem says Israel's leader remains committed to destroying the terrorists behind the attack on and the abduction of innocent Israeli civilians.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is sticking to his pledge. He says he still wants to carry out an operation in the Gaza city of Rafah. That is the last Hamas stronghold in Gaza. Blinken has issued a warning against that.
And Hamas may give its answer to Israel's proposal later today. Former President Trump's criminal trial resumes today in New York. After a day off yesterday at a Michigan rally, Mr. Trump complained of being forced to spend day after day in a Manhattan courtroom.
In a kangaroo courtroom with a corrupt and conflicted judge enduring a Biden sideshow trial at the hands of a Marxist district attorney, Soros backed, who's taking orders from the Biden administration. They're all of these trials.
Prior to today's testimony, there will be a hearing on allegations by prosecutors that Mr. Trump violated the judge's gag order 4 additional times. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures up 183 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today, highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, EIFS, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
It's time that everybody wake up and pay attention.
Live and local.
Recent criminal indictment of Donald Trump.
About the fourth one.
The fourth one. The one he got the free gift with. Punch card.
I think it's a tote bag.
This is News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy? Wow, you're really pumped about this.
Gabe Pfeiffer. Get up, St. Louis.
The best answer to the toxicity of the left is the truth.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin God.
Good morning to the people of St. Louis.
I love that.
I know. Bonner Cohen, who we just had on, yesterday, I think it was, yeah.
Day before yesterday,
Bonner's
maybe.
funny. Yeah, he was on this week. Oh, my goodness. Okay, this is the one time I think we can actually say the protest was mostly peaceful.
Okay. It was actually mostly
peaceful.
Well,
I want to be
that's
fair.
a change.
It was very close to the best case scenario that we were talking about yesterday.
Okay. No fires raging in the background.
As he's like, it's fiery, but mostly peaceful.
Yeah, it was just mostly peaceful. There were still disgusting things said.
Sure.
I saw one of the TV stations had, photographs from the SLU protest. And, there was one, angry-looking young woman, had a mask on and then a sign that said from the river to the sea. So, you had that because these are, at their heart, anti-Semitic protests. So we'll get you the update here in just a moment. Also, here in a second as well, I'm just I just found this kind of looking through stuff this morning. The St. Louis Public School District is going to be spending money to help subsidize and pay people to bring their kids to school.
Excuse me?
Yeah. I thought that's how you'd react.
It was front page on the Post-Disgrace.
Yeah.
It's already a free education. You just...
Right.
So why... What is happening?
A lot.
We're just giving away money.
Okay. Yeah. Just
there's a lot going into this.
Can I get in on this? I'll sit on one of those little desks for a couple bucks.
Yeah, really. All right, 6:07 right now. All right, so let's start here with the SLU protest. So this was essentially the best case scenario. Yeah, what we had said is, listen, you got a right to say disgusting stuff. I mean, I'm one of those that, listen, you can say whatever racist, bigoted, whatever thing that you want to say.
Sure.
Doesn't mean I agree with it. Doesn't mean I support it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to argue back against it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to call you out for whatever your mental malady is. But the best case scenario is the protesters, if you want to call them that, activists, whatever, the anti-Semitic bigots, and there were hundreds of them.
And terrorist sympathizers.
They did their protest thing, chanting, doing their signs, marching around. I've got a big issue with taking over and blocking streets, which they did at the intersection right there by SLU on Grand.
Yeah.
That's not peaceful protest.
No, it's not.
It's not. It wasn't the full-on violence. They basically, encircled the intersection there for a little while. And the only moments of violence that I can find are some videos that I saw and some reports that some counter protesters showed up. And I'm talking very few, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 of them. But one guy had a U.S. flag and an Israeli flag, and he was accosted. He was attacked.
Right.
Somebody grabbed his flag, and there was a chase. It doesn't look like anybody was hurt.
Okay.
So that part, shows you that there are people who are that angry that even other people would have the nerve to have a U.S. flag or, God forbid, an Israeli flag.
Yeah, which is just crazy.
Right.
Now.
And so they did their chants and they did their thing, and they're talking about divesting from Boeing and all this sort of thing. And so it went as well as something this disgusting could go.
Okay.
If that's fair to say.
That's fair. I mean, so long as we're not talking about, more building occupations and encampment establishments and the Jew no-go zones, which we're seeing at some of these other universities. Yeah, the best case scenario for, disgusting people to get their First Amendment on is probably, the way they did it this time.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, I'm looking at some streaming video right now, and in Los Angeles at UCLA, police are now moving on the encampment, the occupation, you know.
Yeah.
You put it really well, the Jew no-go zone.
Yes.
That the bigots have set up. And so
that's not hyperbole, by the way.
No.
Like there were checkpoints. We have video of people at essentially checkpoints. They were distributing wrist bracelets for people who are pro-Palestine, right? So if you're a supporter, you flash your wrist bracelet, you are allowed to go through. But if you're one of those crazy effing Zionists, as they like to say, you're not allowed to go through this particular place. They don't like the Jews in that particular area, is what they were saying.
Precisely. And of course, now we're seeing the police tear down these tents, which are pretty nice, expensive tents, getting torn to pieces here.
And a couple $100.
Oh yeah, at least removing barricades that were set up. So this is happening there. Obviously, police had to use force to reclaim one of the buildings at Columbia University. And so what they're discovering is that if you allow these radicals to get a foothold, if you allow them to use or threaten the violence to occupy something, then you have to reclaim your ground.
Yes.
You have to reclaim it from the violent enemy. So in St. Louis, I was concerned because, City Hall, the mayor, they put out their statements, made it very, very clear. We will not send in the police on this.
Yeah.
So they were basically begging the students to become violent and to occupy something.
Yes, that's what happens if you cede the ground. You just say, okay, well, you can have this. That's fine. We're not going to put up a fight.
Right.
Well, that's the first step to your own downfall.
Yeah, SLU put out a statement that I thought was fine. It said, you are allowed to say what you want to say until you try to do this occupation or do any sort of violence. At that point, you're going to be removed. And so I thought their statement was fine. It was very pro-free speech. It did not comment on any of the issues at hand. And it just said, there's a line. We're not going to go past this line. That line was not tested last night.
Okay.
So I don't know if people saw what happened at Wash U and were like, I don't know if I really want to report back to mommy and daddy that I'm doing this. You're noticing on the videos and the pictures and the photos, a whole lot of people wearing those N95 masks, a whole lot of people wearing those, Arabic scarves over their head. That's not for solidarity, and they're not afraid of COVID. They don't want to be identified with what they're doing. And when you're hiding your face, that means that deep down, you probably know you're on the wrong side.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, we've seen the Antifa blackout type uniform, right, with the black mask and the big hood. This is their Hamas version of their uniform. You know how the military has different versions of their camo. Right. This is a different Antifa camo that they're sporting.
And the only ones who pull off the blackout thing and look cool are ninjas.
That's true.
But then again, if you see how cool they look, then they're not that good of a ninja because you saw them.
Yes, you get to see them only briefly.
Right, if so at all, and that's the rookie. Okay, get this. Before we get to the next segment here, which, by the way, just ahead here, there is another ballot initiative that kind of flew under the radar, and it looks like it will make it to the ballot.
Really?
And this one's going to affect possibly, every small business, medium-sized business in the state.
Oh, man.
In addition to franchise.
We told you guys to decline to sign. What happened?
Yeah, well, that's actually an interesting point because we were saying, listen, just to make it easy, decline to sign anything. And this one looks like it's flown under the radar. It's going to be on the ballot. Okay, so in St. Louis, talking about city, the St. Louis Public School District is handing out or transferring gas money to families if they'll bring their kids to school. Okay, so before you jump on this, let me give the whole thing here.
Okay.
They have had problem after problem after problem with their bus service.
Okay.
In some cases, the bus service, which has had their contract terminated, they're not going to be renewed after this year. I don't think they have a new contract. They don't know what they're doing next year when it comes to getting the bus service up and running. There's just problems. Buses not showing up. They can't hire. They won't keep drivers, all sorts of problems on there.
Okay.
So the school district is basically saying, we apologize and we're sorry for the inconvenience of something as simple as commuting their children. And so families, many families, upwards of 1,500 families who have had chronic bus absenteeism through the year, meaning the buses didn't show up.
Okay.
They're saying, well, now you have to bring your own kid to school. And so they are going to be sending $75 per week to either pay for gas or some kind of alternative ride, upwards of 1,500 students, but it's per family.
Right.
So they've got an app and they'll transfer money in, or they're going to hand out gas cards. So for a family to be eligible, the student must be at school at least 4 days a week and get there on time. So if you got a kid that doesn't show up, in theory, they're not going to send you the money. We'll see how that goes. Limit of one fuel subsidy per family, regardless of how many students or how many different school buildings they go to.
Okay, so now I get it now.
Yes.
It's not as bad as I was thinking.
Right.
But it still seems like more of a Band-Aid on a really bad system, like a gaping chest wound of a problematic system.
Yeah, and then here's where the theory meets with the practice. Whose job is it to get your kid to school? Who's responsible for getting your kid to school?
It's a good question.
Is it the school or is it you?
Right.
I mean, many school districts say if you live within X number of feet or half a mile or 1 mile of the school, you don't even get bus service.
That's on you.
That's on you
Yes.
entirely. But is it the parent's job to get a kid to school, or is it the school's job to get the kid to school?
That's a good question. And I guess on some level, it also kind of comes down to what is the service that is being provided, to the public at taxpayer expense.
Right.
Because the education itself is being like it's your job to teach your kids too.
Yeah.
But for some
Such
reason,
a bang up job they're doing in St. Louis public schools.
yeah,
right?
but for some reason though, we're offering these subsidized, state-run schools. So if transportation is part of that service, I get how that becomes the responsibility of the state.
You know what you never see these days are kids riding their bikes to school, or at least rarely do I see it. And when I grew up, I lived literally the furthest I could possibly live from my grade school. So if I was running late, man, I was gunning it on my bike.
Your bike.
Here's
to
the
get to
problem.
school.
In St. Louis, they're gunning it in a different way, too.
Oh, no, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of gun
Yeah,
that we
you're right.
want.
Yeah.
And then when I went to high school, I was 7 miles away from the high school, so I took the buses, which was totally foreign to me. I never went through taking school buses until high school. If I missed that bus, my dad had to take me, so he had to leave the restaurant to take me to school. He was a bit miffed.
I'm sure that was a pleasant ride.
Oh, it certainly was.
Yeah.
It's funny. My primary and elementary school were pretty much right down the street. So it was like a 2-block walk for me initially, and then my middle school was on the other side of town, and that I rode the bus for that. Except when I joined the modified football team, is basically like below JV, for the middle school kids, and bus services stopped after by the time I got out of football practice. So I'm walking that distance that I otherwise would have gotten a bus ride for, because my dad was working the night shift, so he wasn't able to come pick me up. So I'm walking this. I'm like, this is why we have bus service. And I as I'm going down. It was literally uphill both ways.
Yeah,
because there was a big dip and it came back up. So no matter which direction I'm going uphill at one point in the leg.
It was the same for me too. When I had when I had basketball practice, and I'd have to go at 5:30, 6 o'clock, I had to walk to the train station a mile and a half away to take the train back home because there was no bus service.
Yeah,
oh, man. Now I will say this: is that the parents were promised the service.
Yes.
The service isn't being delivered.
Right.
Whether that's the school bus company's fault or the school's fault, I don't know. But they can't come to terms. They can't figure it out. So the parents were promised that for this year, and it's not being delivered. So I don't like the idea that the school and all the parents in the stories are framed. It's like, well, the school's job to get the kids there. No, it's your job to get your kids there. But I get it.
Yeah.
So this isn't one I'm going to have a lot of heartburn out.
Same.
But if they can't come up with a new vendor for the school buses, then you know what? It's your job to get your kids to school. I don't think they should have a large program where they're paying people to bring their kids to school. But for right now, I get it.
It'd be nice if you could carpool or something, but even that's tough.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. All right, 314-912-1019. Let me tell you about another referendum Missouri voters are probably going to be voting on. And it has to do with businesses. I'll tell you about that right around 6:21.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
It's Black History Month. I'm sorry, I haven't mentioned that during the whole time we promoted Melanie Collette being on with us. Melanie Collette from Project 21 joins us now. Melanie, thanks for coming back to talk to us again.
Thank you for having me. I can't believe you had to remind yourself that it's Black History Month. Is that the only reason why you're having me on?
That's right, only because you're black. Not because we think you're smart. Only because you're
knew it.
Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Danny Define with the Next Gen right here on Sundays at 10 p.m. Now back to a hot, steamy cup of Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
All right, the push to change the law and raise the minimum wage looks like going to be on the ballot on the Missouri side of the News Talk area. I'll give you the updates and the details on that in just a second. So let me ask you this. How do young people, anyone for that matter, but particularly young people, fall into the mindset of a violent revolutionary, in a nation like ours? That streaming video I was just telling you about, I'm looking at UCLA, flashbang grenades, tear gas, all kinds of stuff being used, which there in California is still essentially middle of the night. So they're doing a nighttime raid on the encampment. So at 6:35 here in just a little bit, let's get the insight from somebody who did this and then came back around to the right side of things.
Okay.
It's kind of an interesting journey, interesting perspective we're gonna get. 6:22 right now. Okay, this one flew under the radar, guys. Probably because there aren't a lot of Republicans who want to be on record as opposing somebody's raise. So here's what's happening: is a couple of the left-wing activist groups, really it's a number of the left-wing activist groups, formed a coalition to get this. But it looks like we're going to be voting on whether or not to raise the minimum wage in Missouri to $15 an hour by 2026.
Gosh.
I cannot tell if this is a constitutional amendment or just a referendum on the law. I have looked up the sources, and I've looked up the media coverage, and I can't tell whether it's constitutional amendment or whether it's, like I said, just a referendum. And so Missouri Jobs with Justice, which is a pretty far left group.
It sounds bad.
Yeah, they were part of a group, the coalition that was put together called Missourians for Healthy Families and Fair Wages or something like that. So they have now turned in over 210,000 signatures. They need about 110,000, 109,000, something like that, valid signatures to put the issue on the ballot. So it looks like they have it.
Right.
And of course, they worked with a lot of labor unions, and they worked with a lot of some of the left-wing churches and a whole bunch of the advocacy groups. And it looks like they've done this really under the radar. So when we were talking earlier this year, we're saying everybody declined to sign. And we said, listen, as a blanket statement, just decline to sign.
Yeah, don't sign anything. So you see somebody approaching you with a clipboard, just say, no thanks, not today.
And so they worked around this because the decline to sign obviously is focused on the abortion one.
Yes.
The abortion one has not put out any statements on, we have these signatures, we're doing. If they have enough, we'll get a press release. But here we are just days away from the deadline. We're not hearing anything from them.
Which is actually kind of pretty good news right now.
Yeah.
It's the no news is good news situation right now as far as that one goes.
Yeah, my guess is that they have more than the 110 or 115,000.
But they're afraid they're going to get ticked down.
Yeah, the raw signatures. Now, whether or not that means you've got enough valid signatures is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So here's what this referendum would do if it's approved. So like I said, by 2016, the minimum wage in Missouri for everything would be $15 an hour. It's now $12.30 an hour.
It's already too high.
Well, I mean, it's blocking people from reentering the workforce or younger people from getting the experience they need, but that's just an economic reality. And it would also require businesses to provide 1 paid hour off for every 30 hours worked.
Oh, no. Okay, so that's an additional.
Yeah, so 5 to 7 paid days off a year would be required. Because remember, if you work part-time almost anywhere, you don't get paid time off.
No.
So this would apply across the board. You're a part-time worker. You work, 20 hours a week. So every 2 weeks, you're accruing 1 point something paid time off hours.
Wow.
And so this is micromanaging businesses. And it would, it would affect basically
everybody.
It would affect everybody. I mean, your businesses like, your white collar businesses aren't going to be affected, by this at all.
Well, except they always employ contractors for various things that have blue collar workers.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I think, we sometimes miss too. It's like, hey, the cost of your janitorial for your office building is going to go up.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just a cost of doing business that has changed for your white collar business.
So here's the question is, will Missouri learn from the effects of this exact type of thing in California, in Illinois, in New York? The answer is no.
Apparently not.
My guess is this probably passes.
Yeah, I think people, for some reason, well, actually, I know the reason, because of the spread of economic ignorance by our public school system and academia
and media,
that because of that, people will see this as a net win for the little guy. We're standing up for workers. I'm going to stand in solidarity. Yes, people should be able to have a living wage. All of that rhetoric will wash up and wash across everybody. It's penetrated the zeitgeist right now. So anything like that, I think, is going to have overwhelming public support.
Well, it is a win for the little guy who gets to keep his job. It's not so much a win for the little guy who can't keep his job because the small business can't afford him anymore, or the larger franchise businesses which work on volume, which would be your fast food places and things like that. They can't afford it. I mean, what happened in California? They were given notice. The minimum wage is going up. Politicians were saying it needs to go up anymore. So what did they do? They started preparing with automation.
Yep, that's right.
And
you could order a burger at a kiosk just as easily as at the kid across the counter at the McDonald's.
Yeah,
and they're putting those in a lot of places.
Well, and the kiosks are probably more accurate as well.
Absolutely.
I
can
try
customize more.
I try not to do fast food now. I did fast food once last week for the first time in years. Regretted it horribly. I felt like I had sinned because I've been working so hard to get in shape.
Mea culpa.
Yeah, but that's the drive-through. But I remember doing the first time I did a kiosk. I hated it because I'm a communications person. I want contact. I want eye contact. I want to talk to people. But when I did the kiosk, I'm like, oh, well, at least this time I know it's going to be right.
Yeah.
Instead of the stoner who's working at Taco Bell.
Interestingly enough, this actually dovetailed to that story we did about the tattoo girl. Remember the tattoo girl? And she was talking about, I can't get a job at TJ Maxx, and I think it's because of my tattoos. And they told me that they need somebody with more experience. And then she went on actually in that discussion to talk about how are kids supposed to get experience if you won't give them a chance, you won't hire them. I was like, we're not talking about highfalutin jobs, blah blah blah. She went on to have a lot to say about the whole experience thing. This is what happens when you raise the minimum wage, when the government forces a market turn on the amount of the cost of labor. The businesses are going to respond by trying to weasel down as far as they can to the most experienced, the most competent person that they can get at that wage, and that's going to push out all the kids who have no job experience. Our youth unemployment level is triple what it used to be in like the 50s and 60s.
Oh yeah. So the couple things on this. One, why wasn't there a pushback? Why wasn't the Chamber of Commerce? Why wasn't the any free market groups? Why weren't the conservative groups? Nobody wants to be making the media rounds saying I'm opposing this minimum wage worker getting a raise. It's just bad optics. Nobody wants to do that.
Right.
Nobody wants to get pounced on by the media for that. So, they're going to kind of turn a blind eye to this. But this is also, to your point, Gabe, a massive misunderstanding of the nature of economics. The left looks at the role of government and economics as jobs as basically saying, what does a worker need to have everything that they need in at least the basics or even the luxuries?
Yes.
That's what they should be paid based on what it is we think they need.
The government should take care of people, right? That kind of idea.
Or the government's here to regulate the businesses. It's the business's job to provide for their employees.
Right.
Whereas the real free market, people who understand market forces, who understand how you get prosperity,
Incentive.
is that you should be paid what you're worth. And the
market determines that.
The market determines what you're worth. If your labor in 2026 is not worth $15 an hour, businesses have the choice. They can pay you more than you're worth, or they can not pay you at all and reduce the workforce, or they can spend any excess money investing in some kind of automation or downsizing in order to be able to survive. That's the difference. There is the realities of economics, and then there are how leftists, and frankly, probably too many people on the right now, who look at this saying, well, businesses should be required to provide A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right.
That's not their job. Their job is to
make profits for their investors.
Right. Make a profit, return on the investment to the investors. Like you said, that's their job. And in a true market, the best way to do that is to pay people what they're worth. And if somebody's worth more, it's in their best interest to pay them more.
Yeah, I think.
Or you wind up with a worst case scenario where the franchise has to close down.
Yeah, just fold down. I mean, how many former fast food or other type of restaurants, not sit down restaurant buildings, do you see all over the place?
Oh, they're everywhere.
That aren't surviving. This is one of the reasons that they do that. Now, also, fast food is generally crap anymore. And I think more and more people are waking up to not eating at those, so the market might be changing there. But in the bottom line here is the little guy is the one who usually gets screwed. If you want to argue that the greedy businessman is the one who's doing it, that's fine to do it, but that's the end result and what happens. History shows that over and over and over. You can point to somebody who goes, well, now I can afford to pay my rent, but what you're not going to see in that news story is the person who says, man, I'm just trying to get a break and get started, and now they can't afford me. So it's bad economic policy, but I think it's going to pass even in a deep red Missouri state.
What were you going to say, Gabe?
Oh, gosh, I was going to go into a whole discussion about incentives, but we're running out of time.
Yeah, we're going to talk to Gabe Nadales from Our America. Let's come back to this a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Because it's the incentives that drive so much of the marketplace. This is bad economic policy.
Yes.
But it will benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, that's true.
It absolutely will. It will hurt a lot of people. And that's what happens when government gets in and says we're going to micromanage and take away the free market, period.
Yeah.
All right, so how do young people fall into this radical, violent mindset? We're going to talk to a guy who was an Antifa thug and then came out of it, cleared up, and now he's warning people, here's how kids end up there. Let's get that update around 6:35.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today. Highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again, on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Attention, City of St. Louis. Ready to reclaim your greatness? Join us for an evening with a champion of law and order, Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Awarded 2 Bronze Stars and having commanded over 300 troops on the front lines of Iraq, A.G. Bailey is the leader now fighting for our city. Have a question for A.G. Bailey? Get it answered straight from him this Thursday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. Visit stlouisrepublicans.com for more details.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer. Tim Jones here with Dr. Kim Patton from Comprehensive Integrative Healthcare. Kim, you focus on the treating of neuropathy. What are the signs of neuropathy?
The most common symptoms are numbness, burning, cramping, usually in the hands and feet.
Tell me about the success you're having with your Restore Neuropathy treatment program.
Tim, our program includes 8 distinct steps, offering a unique experience from other treatments. No surgery, no addictive medications, and we are seeing a success rate of 95%.
Kim, that is incredible. How can people learn more?
Visit us online at CIH.health. That's CIH.health.
In the fast-paced world of digital marketing, making connections is a challenge for any business. But what if we told you there is a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency. We don't just follow trends, we set them. At 2060 Digital, we're not just another agency, we're your strategic partner. We dive deep into your challenges and develop solutions that drive measurable outcomes. Ready to elevate your digital presence with campaigns that connect? Google 2060 Digital today.
Danny Define here, host of the all-new show, The Next Gen, with me, Danny Define. We're going to cover all the hard-hitting topics on this show, from national headlines to things happening right here in St. Louis.
Next Gen with Danny Define.
Join me every Sunday at 10 p.m. right here on News Talk STL.
Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
Really made me crazy.
No matter what you are, I will always be with you.
Okay, what's the attraction of violent left-wing revolutionary activism? Well, why does this appeal to so many young people? I mean, we're seeing this all over the country right now. The latest spike in this. Listen, protests happen, on colleges and happen in communities and cities everywhere from time to time. I mean, that's just a part of American history. And not all protest is bad.
Right.
But what is it about that revolutionary thinking, that especially the Marxist leftist thinking, that attracts so many young people in particular? So let's get kind of the inside view from somebody who's been there and done that. 6:37 right now. Hey, our social media, please, if you haven't already liked us or followed us or whatever the platform calls for, please do. Just look up News Talk STL. It's the same across the board. One word, News Talk STL. Hit that like, hit that share. Please let other people know, hey, cool radio station here. And if you're watching this on streaming, please, like today, right now, I'm looking at the Rumble stream. Hit the little thumbs up like for this one because it helps us reach more people.
It pushes the stream.
Yep. Joined now by Gabriel Nadales from Our America. And I've talked to Gabe a few times over the years. And Gabe, just last night, well, really over the last week, you probably have seen this. Here in St. Louis, we've had a couple of different anti-Israel protests, what we refer to here as the pro-Hamas protest. Some of it got really violent, 100 arrests over the weekend. Last night, for the most part, it was just a rally and a protest, and it was fairly peaceful, but everybody was really, really on edge. Now, at one point, you went deep into this sort of revolutionary left thinking. You were literally one of the Antifa activists here in the country. So that's why I wanted to talk to you when, I got the email that you were available to, first of all, tell people, okay, what is it about this sort of thinking that sucks people into it? Because I'm looking at the live stream of what's happening in Los Angeles right now. We've watched the video from New York. These are things that are going to endanger careers and, people's livelihoods down the road because of this radical activism that these people are falling for. So when you look back, for instance, on your experience, and I understand the pro-Hamas thing is, probably some crossover with the people who were involved in Antifa, but probably others who were just separate from it. But how did you end up there before you got to a point to say, wait a minute, this is not the way to go?
Sure. So I've been an activist for a long time, since I was 12 years old, actually. I remember that I started with a lot of immigrant rights protests, always on the left, definitely on the left. And I graduated from that to some anti-war protests as well as some teacher union thing. I was 12 years old. I was very young. That's how I got my start in activism, political activism. Around when I turned 17, that's when I had been an activist for a while, and that's when I realized that I really wanted to do more than just hold signs, So when there was the opportunity to join an Antifa rally around my community, well, I just went. I went, and that's kind of how I how I joined the anti-fascist movement. I just met people who were part of it, and I became part of it myself. And that's really how I got started. It wasn't until a year and a half later that I started to question a lot of the things that we were believed, just because I happened to run across some intellectuals like Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell. Now, I always tell people that at the time I didn't like them, but I found them interesting enough that I wanted to talk to my friends about their ideas. And that's when I realized that a lot of these people weren't really my friends, because they'd say that I was a capitalist pig, that there was all these like dumb things that it just made me realize that these were not people that I could really trust on.
Hey,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I think that part's fascinating, because all the times I think you and I have talked over the years, and you've been on my syndicated show a few times, I don't know that I knew that part of your story. So before you got to that point where you discovered Sowell and you discovered, Friedman, and I'm sure we could list off many others, when you talked about, I wanted to step it up, basically, that's how you ended up in Antifa. What was the attraction? I mean, to knowing that you're stepping into the next level, of activism and possibly physical force and all that kind of stuff. What was it that attracts somebody who's 17 years old to kind of take that sort of risky activism, knowing that you could be throwing punches or getting punches thrown at you or facing arrest? What was it that kind of convinced you to kind of cross that line, so to speak?
Well, as I mentioned, I started when I was 12 years old, just doing activism, and I did quite a few different things. And one of the things that I always felt like was that everything that I did felt like it was worthless, like I was wasting my time, because nobody really seemed to listen. No matter how many flyers I passed, no matter how many people I spoke to, nothing really seemed to change. So, there's something that I like to call activist fatigue, when you just get tired of marching, passing flyers, because no one seems to listen, no one seems to care. And that's when everything kind of just worked out perfectly for me. I was tired, and I felt like I needed to do more. And then there was an Antifa rally about 10 minutes from where I used to live. So it kind of just was a natural fit for me at the time. It's not everybody's experience like that. Some people are very much willing to just go into the fray right away, but that's just kind of how I came into the movement.
Good morning, Gabe. Gabe here. It sounds like, starting at 12 seems, that's really young to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like initially it's really about, and this I think speaks to the fatigue aspect of it. It really seems to be about changing the world. You want to change the world. You want to be impactful. You want to have some sort of influence on the shape of the future. And is that the dream that's being sold to a lot of these kids? Is that this is the only way that they can actually have meaning to their lives?
I think that to a great extent that is true. I mean, I remember when I was in middle school, and the reason that I was involved in some of these things was because I had some of my teachers being very excited about me being involved. Because they told me that I was the future of this country, and that I needed to go out and do things. As I mentioned, in 2000, I actually not specifically, but I did some stuff with teachers unions in 2009 when we had the governor in California.
Mm-hmm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
He was cutting the teachers' budget, like this bloated budget, and then my teachers they were mad. They said, no, we need to do something about it. We need to fight back for teacher rights, and so they invited us all of the students to a rally, and that's one of those things that I just jumped at the opportunity, because I'm I need to protect my teacher, my favorite teacher's job. She's about to get fired if I don't attend this rally, and that's how I got started. A lot of small little tidbits of activism, a rally here, a rally there, passing out flyers, and that's how a lot of people start. They start very small, and oftentimes that does they do escalate.
It also sounds like there was a lot of teacher influence. Like this was part of your education. It was made part of your education, and you didn't even realize it.
Oh, certainly so. As I mentioned, there was multiple teachers who were very excited that I was involved and politically involved. And then there were some teachers who taught me to hate America. One of the things that I write about in my book is I had a biology teacher who in 7th grade would be glad to decry America as well as like the existence of God. And he'd yell at the top of his lungs how he was so excited and so happy that he didn't raise his children to be stupid because he was raising them as atheists. You know, this is the type of teachers that I had in middle school and also in high school. Now, not to say that every single one of my teachers was like this. Now, looking back, I know that, and actually going back, I know that there are a lot of some teachers that did love America, they did love liberty, some of these ideals, but oftentimes they felt silenced because they felt like if they were to speak up, their jobs were on the line, and they aren't really freely able to speak up like some of these very radical left-wing teachers are.
We're visiting with Gabriel Nadales, now with Our America, former Antifa activist, and I wish we had more time, Gabe, because let me ask you this. When you talked about 17, you discover some other thinking. And obviously, I love it when somebody says, hey, I read Thomas Sowell, I read Milton Friedman. You know, I could go on, Henry Hazlitt. You could go on, Walter Williams. You can go on down the line. But how do we engage now to give people who want to think about these things, who want these options, something to counteract, you know, basically the Marxist thinking that was pushed on you at a younger age? So if we're trying to prevent young people from falling into this, what are the things that we should be doing now to avoid some of this just radical, destructive thinking and then later action that you found yourself in and that we're seeing all over the country right now?
You know, I used to give a lot of speeches on college campuses, and I used to typically finish one of my speeches with a little anecdote of Daryl Davis. For your audience who may not know who Daryl Davis is, he's a black man who in the 90s befriended 100 KKK members, and he got them to renounce the cloth. And it's just an amazing story. And then I got a question once who told me that, they asked me, well, we can't all be Daryl Davises. We can't all go talk to Antifa members. We can't all go talk to Klans members or neo-Nazis and expect to be friends with them and then get them to renounce their hateful ideologies. And I said, that's perfectly valid. I'm not asking you to go to Antifa rallies. I'm not asking you to do Klan rallies and try to convert people. I know for a fact that if I were to show up at an Antifa rally, it probably would not go well for me. What I'm asking people to do is to not treat everybody as if they're in the extreme left or the extreme right. Because once you start, you want to lead by example. You want to show that we can get along. Because Americans, by and large, they're not Antifa. They're not radical like Klans member. They are America-loving patriots who really do love this country. And poll after poll shows this. I mean, I work for Our America. I'm a national director there. And we have seen that 80, 90, even 90% of Americans love America. They support America. So we need to work with the majority of Americans as opposed to giving so much oxygen to extreme voices.
Good morning, Gabriel. Stelpontikas here. I know we've got only a minute or so left here, but I do want to ask, back in the day, groups like the Weather Underground had a radical mindset of trying to literally overthrow the government. And now today, with the combination of Marxist ideology and Sharia supremacy, do you see similarities to the Weather Underground and what they were trying to do? Or do these guys have a different set of goals today?
Well, you know, the Weather Underground is way before my time. But
Okay.
I can tell you that, yeah, like that's going back to the 60s. I mean, I ran into them, you know, but they're definitely way before my time. But I will tell you this, that I've always hated the fact when people say that Antifa has never killed anybody for two reasons. Number one, it's false. They have in modern history and throughout history. But number two is they're very specific because they're always saying, like, the far right's always killed more people. Well, what groups do they consider to be the far right? You know, like, well, the Proud Boys never killed anybody. And that's the kind of the logic that they go. They go very specific for the left, but for the right, they lump everybody together. When you look at the history of left-wing of activism, which includes the Weather Underground, which includes some of these animal rights groups, the anarchist groups, Antifa, then you find that they actually have a lot more in common. They always see themselves as being on the side of the oppressed versus the side of the oppressors. And this has justified many killings throughout history. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't forget the fact that that the communists are part of this whole like far left movement. They've killed multiple people throughout history, like millions of people throughout history, yet they get a pass because they're not specifically Antifa. But we have to look at the history of far left activism, and they often have very similar goals: overthrow democracy, establish either anarchism or a type of socialist or communist government or society. And we have to acknowledge that Antifa and some of these far left movements are all part of a larger movement.
All right, Gabe Nadales, Gabriel Nadales from Our America. Let's go ahead and put out the information for where people can get in touch with that website, social media, and then go ahead and mention your book real quick. You mentioned that a little bit earlier, and I don't think a lot of people realize that's out there.
Yeah, so I work for an organization named Our America that seeks to unite Americans, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as Americans arguing for our America. We work with free speech, crime and safety, and getting the government out of people's backs to stop inflation. And if people want to check us out, they can check us out at joinouramerica.org. That's joinouramerica.org.
All right, and the book?
Oh, yeah. So I wrote a book a couple of years ago now. It's Behind the Black Mask. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere really books are sold.
All right. Hey, Gabe, good to talk to you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that. We went a few minutes longer than we normally do just because I really think that this is what people need to know because, yes, we get angry and we're ready to push back when the Marxists do this, but I think it's important to understand how they get sucked into it in the first place. So I appreciate your insight, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Got any thoughts on this? Let me know. 314-912-1019.
I believe we have his book on our in the book club.
In the book club. Okay. So go to newstalkstl.com, go to News and More, and then look for book club.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can find that book among many others who have been featured on the program here. I think it's fascinating. I've interviewed Gabe a number of times over the years. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that it was Soul and Friedman and all those others who who kind of turned things around.
They're the gateway drug.
Yes. That's why when he said that, I'm like, I got to dig deeper into this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we did. By the way, that conversation, that's going to be up on our podcast here in a few hours. And I'm telling you, that's one you need to share with your friends and a lot of people. That's a good place to start a discussion right there. That's what we do on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
If you would give me all, I would give it to you.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
What's the key to maximizing the value of your outdoor space? Satisfaction. In getting a fence or deck that exceeds expectations with the highest quality, American-made material. And working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. And adding safety and security for your family and pets to play, relax, and entertain. At STL Fenceworks, satisfaction is our core value. Doing it right the first time, standing above the competition. At STLFenceworks.com, your satisfaction is our passion.
Honesty, integrity, humility, purpose. We're looking for people that share these values. As an officer in the Springfield, Missouri Police Department, you'll train in a state-of-the-art facility, learn special skills, and most importantly, learn that being humble through it all builds a better community. Our next training academy starts soon. Work hard and dedicate yourself to the craft, and I promise you'll have some amazing opportunities. Visit gospd.com for more information. That's gospd.com. Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99 and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
800-407-9204. 800-407-9204. 800-407-9204. That's 800-407-9204.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL.
Normally, we jump in and do a morning news dump here. That conversation with Gabriel Nadales went a little bit long, and that was on purpose. Once we got into some of what sucked him into that Antifa activism, I was fascinated not so much with what sucked him into it, because I think we know, public schools, radical teachers, indoctrination, which is what we warn about all the time. But when he said, but then I discovered, Thomas Sowell, Milton Friedman. Yeah. And I'm sure we could guess some of the others. First of all, I don't know a lot of 17-year-olds who think that deeply about these things.
Right.
Because Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell, they don't make economic arguments. They make moral arguments and apply them to economics and other things.
Yes.
And so I found that fascinating. Now, most of these young people, and like for instance, we've got a screen here. I've got some live video coming in from Los Angeles right now where police are dismantling the encampment because we see the end results after the indoctrination sets in and the fever pitch and the social contagion. And there are people who are probably in there about to get arrested and clubbed over the head, and they have no clue what they're doing.
No, not at all.
They don't have any firm belief on it. But this is what they're being swept away. And to some degree, we heard that with Gabe.
Yeah, they have to change the world. They have to.
Right.
Right.
So when he's talking about, I was more interested in what got him out there, and that was him thinking. You can't go into these encampments and say, everybody just stop and think. You'll probably get something thrown at you.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are people who attempt this. They ask they try the Socratic method, and they ask a couple of pointed questions. Is okay. Well, what do you mean by that? And how did you come to that conclusion? And then they lock up and they get angry, and then you start seeing a wall of people kind of move in to protect, quote unquote, each other from the violence of words.
Yeah, I mean, you see that over and over. So that change. And now, our America, he's talking about, not Republicans, not Democrats. It is absolutely, if somebody gets involved in that, they're going to end up at least center right.
Yes, that's true.
Because that's where they're. But it's basically saying, please reject this extremism, because Marxism is inherently violent. Anything authoritarian must be able to be must employ or have the ability to employ violence and force to control people. That's what makes Marxism and communism and all the other isms, on the left, what they are.
And there is a tyranny of the mob, and I think that's what people miss a lot too in these movements. It's like, well, it's the people. It's we want to empower people. Well, people can become tyrants too.
Well, speaking of some of those school indoctrination, some schools here in St. Louis are spending money to have their students, at your taxpayer expense, lobbying against your rights. It happened this week in Missouri. I'll tell you what happened at 7:05. Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The LAPD moves in on protesters at UCLA. Police started tearing down barricades early this morning, advancing on the entrenched anti-Israel, anti-America demonstrators, zip-tying their wrists and leading them away one after another. Meanwhile, there's been no lack of finger-pointing when it comes to the violence that erupted on campus.
UCLA Chancellor Gene Block says that a group of instigators came on campus to forcefully attack the pro-Palestinian encampment, prompting the school to ask for assistance from outside law enforcement agencies. Block says the attack on the students, faculty, and community was utterly unacceptable. He's promising that the university will conduct a thorough investigation that he says may lead to arrests, expulsions, and dismissals, and that they will examine the school's own security response. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has also called for an investigation. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Donald Trump going after the Libertarian vote.
The former president will speak at the Libertarian National Convention later this month here in the nation's capital as he tries to woo voters beyond the Republican base. In a statement, Trump said, "If libertarians join me and the Republican Party, where we have many libertarian views, the election won't even be close." The event comes as Trump's campaign has ramped up its attacks against Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running as an independent. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Former President Trump says abortion is an issue that belongs in the hands of the states. Mr. Trump, campaigning in the upper Midwest the other day, says that is exactly what his administration accomplished. In Arizona today, the governor will sign a bill that repeals that state's Civil War-era abortion law. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures 157 points higher. NASDAQ futures are up 143. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today. Highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again, on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Always be clear where you get your conservative talk.
The St. Louis Business Journal is now reporting that liberal billionaire George Soros is the largest shareholder of Odyssey,
the parent company of KMOX and 97.1 Talk.
Soros' maneuver raises critical questions about the future of media ownership and influence.
Money and attention is power. And when he has the money and he controls what's on the radio stations, he's going to be able to control the minds, potentially hundreds of millions of Americans.
St. Louis's trusted source and number one
for
conservative talk.
This is News Talk STL.
Well, we've had a couple of interesting storms here. Nothing major over the past couple of weeks, but it wasn't that long ago in the O'Fallon and Wentzville area that, the hail did a lot of damage to some roofs and also to some windows around the St. Louis metro area. It's just a matter of time. That's going to happen again someday here in St. Louis. That's why you need to make sure that your home has the right investment put into it. Mike Ferguson here from my friends at Window World. I'm going to tell you how to save money. And I know you're thinking, wait a minute, Mike, you're going to talk about how to buy windows. Yes, I am. That's how you're going to save money. Window World is simply the best for less. These are custom windows. These are double strength windows, double hung windows. These are windows that have a lifetime warranty, and they're still going to be less expensive than just about everything else out there. How do they do it? I haven't the slightest idea, but they've done it. I've been on their warehouse. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to go hang out with them next week as well. The warehouse here at Window World right in St. Louis. When you call Window World at 314-993-1800, you're calling somebody here in St. Louis, in Earth City. You're talking to people who are St. Louisans. We're talking to your neighbors right here, and they're talking about people who want a good reputation, who value their good reputation, and that's why they treat people so well. So you save money up front because these windows are less expensive. I mean, you can go get a generic one at the store if you want. That's fine, but you're probably going to pay more than Window World anyway. But Window World also is going to make your home more energy efficient because they are such good windows, and they've got that lifetime warranty that I mentioned. I talk about that so often because it is so crucial. So you buy those windows one time, and even if the hail hits it, even if it's a massive storm, a tornado, these Window World windows are guaranteed. They have a lifetime warranty. They'll take care of it, and they'll fix it or they'll replace it. Lifetime warranty. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. Let them show you what they can do. And no, they do not do that high pressure thing. They do not treat you the way that those fly-by-night companies do. They want a good reputation. They show you what they can do. They give you a custom quote. They answer your questions, and then they leave you to make your decision. And if you've got any more questions, just give them a call. That's how they do business. They don't want to do it the other way. They don't want to treat people like that. That's why they've got such high ratings on Yelp and with the Better Business Bureau and all these other ratings platforms that you find. It's because they do a good job by treating people the right way and treating people the way they want to be treated. Give them a call today, 314-993-1800. By the way, they've got 18 months, same as cash financing, so it's even easier to get your Window World windows put in today. Window World, simply the best for less.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Had some interesting comments from that conversation with Gabriel Nadales. We'll get to one of those here in just a second. By the way, it looks like some of your tax dollars are subsidizing gun control activism.
Oh, here we go.
At least in Missouri. In Illinois, of course, your tax dollars are just paying for gun control activism outright. That's a different discussion for a different day. We'll get to what's going on in St. Louis right now. By the way, News Talk STL's Flashback Friday on Mike Ferguson in the Morning. That is, by my calculations, tomorrow.
I think you're right.
We still have room for more requests?
We do have, sort of.
Getting close.
You can get on the waiting list.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Or maybe, you know what, how about this? Maybe if somebody sends one that's better than somebody else's.
Yes.
You can always bump one because we don't know. You haven't told anybody who's there. So if you bump somebody else's, we're not going to know.
No one will know but me.
So Stell or Mike at newstalkstl.com or just send us a request. There was one yesterday for a Madonna song, which I didn't tell you about. So
I did see that though. I saw
you did?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was a comment or if that was a request, but since it actually said Madonna,
yeah.
I figured it was a request. And
let's just say we got a reaction last time for Madonna song.
Is that lower on the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has one or two good songs. I'll just put it the way. All right, 7:09 right now. Hey, real quick before I get to this thing where public school, charter school students were sent under the blessing and the organization of the school to lobby against your Second Amendment rights. We just talked to Gabriel Nadales from Our America. Our America org or com. Just look up Our America. You can find it. We really went in depth. It was a very thoughtful discussion. And we had a very interesting comment on social media. It came in on what, Facebook? Or
Facebook, yeah.
Facebook, yeah.
Salty Zombies, which is a cool handle, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the demoralization process described by Karl Marx. It takes 2 to 3 generations, influencing young minds and distorting their concepts of reality. This is how our enemies have been planning to destroy the fabric of their enemy, America. And yes, the response to that is yes.
Yeah.
We've seen it, expressed not only through Karl Marx, but on basically his people who followed him or people who came after him, like Saul Alinsky and his Rules for Radicals and others.
Bill Ayers
is another one. Yeah. And these, you can see it expressed in these latest leaders of these movements. They all kind of have the same philosophy, the same tactics as well.
And we can go back, and I know I'm going back a little ways here to the USSR and Nikita Khrushchev, who spoke at the United Nations and made the comment about America will be destroyed from within.
Oh yeah. The defectors who came out of Russia back in the day, they basically predicted all of this. They told us what was going to happen, and we didn't believe them.
Right. So that conversation with Gabriel Nadales is going to be posted, a few hours or so. I really recommend that you listen to it again.
Yes.
That you absolutely send this to people on the right and the left as well, because I think it puts a lot of this. I mean, we've been talking, this morning about the protest at SLU and the violence that happened in Wash U. I've been keeping you updated on what we're seeing in Los Angeles right now with the police moving in on the tent encampment as well. And that really got to the question of how does this happen? What goes through the mind of the individuals who basically surrender their individuality to this mob violence, and this mob activism. And most importantly, what it was that turned Gabe away from that, Gabe Nadales away from that. So that was a fascinating, I think, discussion and an important one as well. So check that out. All right, it is 7:11 right now. Real quick before I get this, Blues Nut, he says, I still think Mike shouldn't, I think you typoed, Blues Nut. I think Mike shouldn't let go. Oh, there it is. I think Mike shouldn't let go of his Van Halen hate.
You hate Van Halen?
I don't hate it. I love Van Halen. I think it's like I think I'm reading this as in because I'm a hair metal guy and a Van Halen guy that I look down on like Madonna and some of those. And so let me tell you something, Blues. Now you're accusing me as a metalhead of looking down on Madonna, but let me tell you, that's probably true.
And you get your headbangers ball.
Oh, that's right. And my T-shirt is the old school headbangers ball one.
MTV,
maybe the only good show that was on MTV.
I want my MTV.
That's right. Okay, get this. I found this on Channel 4's website here. So just this week, the St. Louis public school, well, not the public school, but the charter schools, the Confluence Academies, they sent a contingent of young people to the Capitol, to Jefferson City, specifically to lobby for gun control laws. Now,
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's not the school that was it doesn't look like the school came up with the idea here. But the school, responded to a bunch of the students and apparently some of their families like St. Louis is dangerous and there's too many guns around. There's too much violence and we need gun control laws. And the school said in this story that I was reading that, some things have to be learned on the, I'm sorry, Channel 5, not Channel 4. And if you could shut off my computer here real quick because there's an autoplay thing there. Thank you. And so what they did is they were taken during the school day. It appears that the school coordinated the trip. They might have even paid for it from Confluence Academy. And it's a charter school. But remember, charter schools are public schools.
Yeah.
And so the way Channel 5 story reads, it says, some St. Louis students are on a mission to combat gun violence by fighting for tougher laws. Now, first of all, everything that's presupposed in that first sentence of the story is a false narrative, but whatever. A group of teens from Confluence Academy is just back from Jefferson City where they made their case to state lawmakers. School leaders said they made it happen and led the real life lessons sometimes because they say it has to be happening out of school. Now, a lot of real life lessons, most of what you're going to learn is outside of your school. Period.
Yeah.
I used to tell when I was helping broadcast students over at one of the local colleges over the years, I would tell them you're going to learn more about the real world and the industry on the job in the first 6 months than you've learned over the entire course of your school, your career. And so it goes on to give this kind of, glorifying story on all these young people who are trying to make the world a better place by lobbying for common sense gun legislation. But they're doing this at our expense. Now, charter schools have a lot more flexibility than public schools, but public schools have sent students there as well, especially after the tragic shootings that happened over the last year and a half or so. And so what we have here are your tax dollars being spent, and these children not in the classroom. And the field trip isn't, let's go learn about nature. Let's go learn about industry and how something that's to send them out to lobby on behalf of gun control and lobby against your human rights, against your Second Amendment rights, your right to self-defense.
Yeah, and this has been going on for a while, though, and that's the thing. This is just maybe the most pointed version of this, where our tax dollars are going towards advocacy against us. But really, all the tax dollars that go to most of the school complex, the school industrial complex, and goes to academia in terms of our state schools and things like that. All of that money is also taxpayer funded, anti-right thinking, advocacy.
Yeah. Right. And I would almost look at it, and I like the way you phrased it, Gabe. I would almost insert public school industrial complex.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
There you go.
And I think back to I think last year in Chicago, the public schools up there had a voting thing that they set up in many of the schools, so that they had kids involved in their neighborhoods and doing a lot of work that you look at that and go, that's not something that should be done from the classroom. And that just seemed really strange. And now you got this happening here. And Mike, you said the two words field trip. I wonder if it was cloaked in that phrase. Hey, we're going on a field trip to Jeff City.
I don't think it was. I think it
Probably
was.
not,
I
but
think it was very overt. It was activism, political activism, social activism in the public education establishment, or I like the public school industrial. I like that.
Yes.
It is looked at as it's just assumed this is good. This is what we're teaching. Is it as extreme as what Nadales was just telling us a little bit ago? I hate America. You need to be an atheist or you're stupid. It's not that. But it is basically saying we are going to just accept in an urban community that we have to have gun control laws. No concept of let's teach the Bill of Rights. No concept of let's teach civics. No concept of let's teach accurate history. No concept of let's teach why the first gun control laws in America were what?
Racist.
Jim Crow laws.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
Jim Crow laws. None of that. And they look at this as not, I don't think they looked at it as a field trip. I think they looked at it more as this is a good use of education resources because it's just certain that we have to get this done, and we're going to use the public schools to do that. And who's going to say no to the children? Well, I sure would.
Yeah,
if I were a lawmaker. But.
Well, and that's what happens when you've captured the public schools. When you've captured the culture, is that now you got the children now that you can hide behind as the ones bringing up all of the information that you say, well, this is a kid-led effort, so we can't squash their enthusiasm.
Right.
Let's go along with it. But they're just parroting things that they heard from previous teachers that they've heard in the culture at large. So there's still ignorant little automatons being programmed within the industrial complex, as it were.
I remember years and years ago, there was a class that decided to do as a class project. They wanted to get the law changed to declare like a official state something. It was basically an exercise in civics. I don't know, state amphibian or state fish, and so it was a way of teaching them the process.
Sure.
And activism. And there was nothing partisan. There was nothing about people's rights. But I remember then going, really? I mean, changing state laws as just an educational exercise wasn't wild about it.
Yeah.
You'd be much better off bringing in a state representative or state senator and having a mock, legislative session. But that was at least harmless.
Right.
Unless you're a fan of a different amphibian. In this case right here, it's assuming that everybody must be an activist. And of course, if you are an activist, it must be on the left.
Right.
So if they are using public resources, tax dollars, to go and argue for gun control, then in all likelihood, somebody in that classroom, somebody in that school just assumes as a matter of education that Gun Owners of America is a bad organization.
Yes.
That the American Firearms Association is a bad organization. That the National Rifle Association, that these are these are enemies, and that's what's being taught. Listen, part of the reason we support the expansion of charter schools is because they can operate outside of the normal things, and I still think that. But this is still our tax dollars being used for this, and so we need to know that this is happening. And my hope is that the students were treated accordingly, that plenty of lawmakers went, you don't know anything. Why aren't you in class?
Yeah.
Why aren't you on a real field trip? We're not going to violate people's rights. And by the way, gun control doesn't work for squat.
Yeah. Go to the Natural History Museum and learn something.
Yeah. All right. Just ahead here, let's give you an update on what happened here in St. Louis on the mostly peaceful protest.
Actually
mostly peaceful.
Yeah.
But I've also taken note of how the media keeps framing this. And I've got some examples from the media coverage today. Very different, by the way, peaceful protest here in St. Louis. Not 100% peaceful. There were some things that weren't, but you won't hear that from the media. Compare that with what's happening in Los Angeles right now. I'm looking at another college-age kid getting hauled off in zip ties. So your feel-good video of the day, honestly.
Yeah.
Talk about that just ahead.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show.
So these protesters at college campuses, some of them are holding UAW signs. That's why Right to Work started to begin with, and Mark Mix from Right to Work joins us Thursday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
So a friend of mine works up at Millwoods Sports Bar and Grill. She invites me up to a Cards game the other day, and I fell in love with this place. First, I got to see the game. Big screen TVs, crystal clear, and they got to be everywhere. Perfect. The food was fantastic, and it was affordable. Now I'm sold, so I head up to Millwoods after a show one night, and the place was hopping. Great live music, DJs, and karaoke. 2 locations in Wentzville and Maryland Heights, just east of 270 on Dorset. Millwoods Sports Bar and Grill, A+.
Old man winter in the rearview mirror. Warmer weather here. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service. 636-379-1830. 24/7 at hansonstree.com. This is the perfect time to spruce up and beautify your landscape beds. When you purchase organic mulch in bulk from Hanson's, you save on price, time, and incredibly convenient. Tons of commercial and residential tree care services as well. Grinding and land clearing, plant health care, and more. 636-379-1830. hansonstree.com. hansonstree.com.
Columbo and Katie.
Harrison County Board of Education is punishing and suspending 13-year-old girls from being able to compete in their sport because they didn't want to compete against a boy. Meanwhile, protesters violently taking over buildings and breaking the law and threatening violence, they're not being punished, but these 13-year-old girls are.
Tony Columbo, Katie Fitzpatrick. Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton.
News, analysis.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
All right, it turned out to be mostly peaceful. For once.
Actually mostly peaceful.
Yeah.
Not joking mostly peaceful
No.
like we usually say.
Yeah, this one actually was.
not the CNN version.
Yeah, not
No,
CNN version.
no.
Please ignore the fire behind me.
But you're also not going to hear about the not peaceful parts of what happened to SLU last night. They were isolated.
Right.
They were small. But it wasn't 100% peaceful, but it was mostly peaceful. All right, here's the update coming on that here in a second. By the way, we are, we're rightfully angry with these radical college students for their, their anti-Semitic bigotry right now, giving the rest of the college students a bad name. But who is stirring up the worst of what we're seeing right now? Okay. Matter of fact, Ed on Rumble's like, where are all these resources coming from? Where's all these talking points coming from? Paraphrasing here. Well, we're going to talk about that at 7:35. Is it the kids or is it the professionals? We're going to educate ourselves on that with Bob Hoge from RedState at 7:35. Okay, so 7:25 right now. Last night's pro-Hamas rally at SLU. And when I say mostly peaceful, please don't think that I'm saying, okay, well, that was a good thing that they did their rally and it didn't get out of hand.
No.
It is still a bigoted pro-Hamas terrorist sympathizing activism that happened at SLU.
Right.
So hundreds of people, many of them college students. I'm sure there were others from WashU and other activist groups and whatever the case is. They had their rallies, they did their chants, they had their signs. Yes, some of them were blatantly anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish, from the river to the sea. That was caught on camera as well. But there was no widespread violence, even though City Hall in St. Louis, we're talking the mayor, we're talking the Board of Aldermen president, we're talking about other members of the Board of Aldermen. They made it very, very clear. They told police to stand down. They were basically inviting violence and things to get out of control.
Yeah.
SLU put a statement out before the protest happened that I thought was pretty good, pretty even-handed. It said, we will absolutely stand down for your free speech, even on our private property. The minute that you try to set up a camp, the minute you try to occupy, the minute you become violent, then you're going to go. I thought that was a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
And things, other than a couple skirmishes, things didn't get violent, but they weren't completely peaceful.
Right.
It was mostly peaceful.
Mostly, right.
Part of what they did when they were marching around and doing the idiot college student thing is they went to that intersection on Grand right there on just off SLU's campus, and they did the circle thing and sit in and blocked up.
They
traffic,
blocked that up for a bit, yeah.
That's not peaceful protest.
That doesn't count as peaceful.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Is it violent? No, but it's not peaceful.
Right.
Okay, you don't have a right to do that.
No.
But the police were standing down, and the children were able to do that. There were a couple people who showed up with American flags and Israeli flags, and at least one of those was attacked. Had their flags taken and stolen and run off, and they were accosted. Doesn't sound like there were any serious injuries, but that was really the only little pockets of violence that happened on this. Unlike what happened to WashU, which, by the way, nobody's been charged in that yet.
Oh, still.
Nobody's been charged.
I do not like
Wesley Bell.
Hey,
put up or shut up.
This
dude.
is your jurisdiction. You actually have power here.
Yeah.
Unlike some of these other issues where we gave you a pass because like, hey, that's not his jurisdiction. He can't jump in here. In this case, it's on him.
Now maybe he hasn't received the reports yet, which means Washington University Police, St. Louis County Police, Richmond Heights Police. It's on you.
Yeah.
Get those things in. Let's get these charges going. By the way, Larry Connor's USA commentary today, focusing on a group that provides mobs for protest, and we're going to get a preview of that at 7:35 as well. So we're going to bring you up to date on that. Gabe, here's the thing. I'm looking through the coverage here in St. Louis of the media, and I'm noticing patterns. And I know I've mentioned these before, but I looked at them again today, and you're seeing patterns. For instance, per the terminology being used by Cori Bush and others, media coverage headlines are saying things like anti-war protesters, as though that we're in the 60s and this is Vietnam.
Yes. That's what they're protesting.
They're not anti-war protesters. They are pro-war protesters.
Yeah. They just don't like the side that's winning right now.
Correct. Because if they were anti-war protesters, they would be against Hamas. They would be against the Palestinians.
Yeah. When Israel is ascendant, there is actual peace. And Palestinians benefit from the peace that Israel brings.
Yeah.
That's really what happens. But when Hamas is allowed to be ascendant, you get October 7th. And as many October 7ths as they can muster.
Yeah.
So no, you're not an anti-war protester if you're calling for Israel to quote unquote ceasefire.
Right. Or you're saying from the river to the sea.
Oh
and
gosh,
all that sort of things.
Yeah.
But I've also noticed that the subtle ways that the media is writing this, and these are so-called journalists. Israel's war.
Israel's war.
Yeah. Or Israel's attacks on. You're seeing that over and over. Wow. Israel's war against Hamas. Israel's war in Gaza. Israel's attack on him. No. Israel is acting defensively.
Yes.
And they also point out, they're saying, Israel, even if they mention October 7th, which they generally don't anymore,
right?
They'll say, however many people were murdered and slaughtered by Hamas, they'll say, but the Palestinian Health Authority, or, the agency from Hamas, says over 30,000 civilians have been killed.
Oh, yeah. They do the whole proportionate thing. Right?
Right.
They do the whole, oh no, this number is bigger than that number, and therefore the people inflicting the bigger number are the bad guys. Yeah, they're doing that garbage.
Right. Now, never mind that many of the so-called civilians are probably not civilians.
And of course, this is Hamas reporting this.
Right.
And they know the value and power of creating civilian casualty situations.
Right. And the American media is more than happy to run with the optics.
Oh, yeah. They're absolute puppets of Hamas's media organizations, essentially.
Precisely. I mean, and we're seeing that even, in media where left-wing activists and groups are buying up media outlets, and we're seeing that in St. Louis as well. So, hopefully,
looking at you, Soros.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't, change even our competition, but who knows? We'll see. But, but what we're seeing right now is a media that's trying to reset the frame. Don't look at October 7th, because the whole world reacted with horror on that. Now they're reacting with horror on the people who say, we're going to defend ourselves by eliminating the threat.
Right.
And we're being told, well, they're not negotiating with the threat. Well, they're negotiating more than they should be. The United States administration, the presidential administration, is saying we will not support their offensive here. Okay, you call it an offensive if you want. Every bit of this is defending their existence.
Yes. Absolutely. I don't know why these things are a question. I don't know why the establishment feels as though they can get away with framing it in this manner.
Because they can.
Well, yeah. I guess in the grand scheme, yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess it's funny feeling, being and acknowledging that I'm in the intellectual minority here, in recognizing the bad actors in our own camp here, and seeing the lies that they sell every day, and trying to get around that. Yeah, you're right.
So the lesson here is watch your own language when you're talking to people, especially people who are like, I don't know, I've been kind of following it. I know Israel's got a war against them. No. Israel's defending itself against people who want to kill them, who already, reframe that in as many minds as you can.
Yeah.
So who's paying for all these activists? I'm looking at the streaming video from Los Angeles right now. A lot of these younger and maybe some not so young people getting hauled off in handcuffs and zip ties. It is your warm, fuzzy, feel-good video of the morning right now. But who's paying for all this? All over the country. All those tents just pop out of nowhere. All the talking points, all the gas masks, all those things. Who's agitating all this? This isn't organic. We're going to talk to Bob Hoge from RedState.com about that right around 7:35 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today. Highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
John Beal knows that new roofing companies can look big and trustworthy on the internet, but the fact is 96% of new roofing companies go out of business within the first 5 years. John Beal has a reputation for excellence, reliability, plus lowest cost, best roof, best guarantee. Those here today, gone tomorrow roofers, they can't match John Beal. For home or business, trust my friend John. 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
All of these disturbances on the campuses, and you wonder why and how they organize. There's a group called Demand Protest. Their slogan, when your strategy demands paid protest, we organize and bring it to life. Yeah, these campuses, their anti-Semitic hatred, Hamas-loving rallies, they're all being directed and probably paid for by groups like George Soros. And this is just one of the groups. They say on their website, we are strategists. We are mobilizing millennials across the globe with seated audiences. Your reputation and discretion is our top priority. We develop, recruit, manage, and execute all your high-level objectives. And they also add deniability. By taking every precaution, keeping our clients secret, and we hire only the best individuals, we can ensure no one can trace it back to you. And when it comes to group recruitment, they say our top priority is also presenting any associations back to you. Our operatives only know us. We have a proven track record of maintaining secrecy. Well, the secret's been unveiled. Now just a question, who?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Calling all bobblehead collectors and animal lovers. This is one you won't want to miss. Join us at the ballpark on Saturday, May 4th, when the Cardinals host the Chicago White Sox and the 19th annual Purina Pooches in the ballpark. That day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will receive a bobblehead of Adam Wainwright with his lovable retirement gift, his new pup Louie, courtesy of Purina. For full details, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Adam Wainwright, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Fashionistas, be ready. The high-demand Cardinals purse giveaway returns to Busch Stadium on Sunday, May 5th. That day, the Cardinals host the White Sox, and 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home an exclusive Cardinals purse, courtesy of Edward Jones. This tan handbag features a gold metal chain and a mystery bonus strap. Following the game, kids 15 and younger can participate in the Haichu Kids Run the Bases. Full details at cardinals.com/promotions.
So we finally got the parts for the time machine.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks. Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa. 90s New Country streaming now. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Columbo and Katie. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, right here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Okay, when the children cry, you know, sometimes it's because grown-up radicals want them to.
Yeah.
You know, interesting. Watching these videos out of Los Angeles right now, some telling things that kind of line up with what Bob Hoge at RedState was writing about just within the last 24 hours. We'll get to that in a second. By the way, still ahead here, faith and our artificial intelligence. What could go wrong?
No.
I'll tell you what could go wrong at 7:50.
No, keep the robots out of the church.
You're going to love this story, and by love, I mean you're going to hate the story.
Okay.
7:50, we're going to do this. All right, RedState.com. Right now you can go and see an article by Bob Hoge. It says, paid professional agitators are fomenting violence on America's campuses. Some of these activists and some of these, crazy stuff is just happening from radicalized young people. But we're seeing too many similarities all over the country and too much equipment and too many resources going into for anybody to reasonably think that this is just an organic uprising of the people. Again, it's just not. So, Bob, appreciate you being on the program here. I'm looking at the live stream video of what's happening in Los Angeles right now, and it dawned on me literally about 2 minutes ago. They're arresting one young woman, hauling her off in zip ties. She's got a military-grade gas mask on. She's got earplugs in to protect against flashbangs. And so she's well-equipped. I don't remember anybody having those in the dorms when I was in college. So somebody is providing direction, equipment, resources. I'm not saying that there aren't a whole bunch of young people who are getting caught up in the radicalization. But when I'm looking at your article here, you're talking about these pro-Hamas protests. There are some strings being pulled. There's some marionette type of activity happening here, right?
Absolutely. By the way, it's still dark here on the West Coast where I am, and to wake up to see these beautiful scenes on the TV is quite refreshing.
I said earlier that was my warm, fuzzy, feel-good video of the day.
Yeah, the kids in zip ties.
Yeah. They waited me out last night. I tried to stay up to cover it because they said they were going in at 9, but the LAPD doesn't... and now it's the CHP for some reason. Don't seem to stick to strict guidelines, but they did in fact go in, and yeah, what a nice morning. And these protests, where do they all get the exact same tents? That's the first thing you notice. Is there's these green tents. Mm-hmm. They're at Columbia, they're at UCLA, they're at USC. And then they get these coffee deliveries and all the same thing. And it turns out, well, yes, they are coordinated and paid for. We do know that George Soros-backed groups, these nonprofits where he can hide his identity, they have been identified as being behind at least some of them. And this does not excuse, as you pointed out, many of these radicalized students. We're not giving them a pass just because they're being helped, but they are being helped. There's no question. And some of it's from 60s radicals who just can't seem to find something else to do. They're still at it. Bill Ayers, the co-founder of Weather Underground, showed up at University of Chicago the other day and gave a speech. Unfortunately, it was not caught on video, so we don't know what he said. But he was actually a threat to democracy, and he set up, he bombed the Senate and he bombed some other places and was not put in jail based on a technicality. But he's a real piece of work, this guy. So what happened to him? They gave him a professorship at the University of Chicago. So he showed up. Then there's this lady called Lisa Fithian. She's 63, I believe, something like that. She's been doing this kind of stuff basically her entire life. That's her purpose in life, is to protest. She's been at, Occupy Wall Street. She's been at BLM. She's been at anything where they're chanting. There you'll find her chanting away like a robot. And she's a paid professional agitator. And she's getting at least $300 a day, supposedly. And she's been spotted at the Columbia protest, helping them and saying, oh, no, this is how you make a barricade. And, oh, this is how you resist. And so these nonprofits are able to hide behind their status. And there's one called SJP, Justice in Palestine, whatever it's called. And, they're pouring money into it. So, yeah, I don't excuse these radicalized students who some of them you hear are quite hateful and quite awful, to be honest. But they're being funded and helped and prodded on and agitated by some pretty dark forces. Now, funnily enough, on a personal note, I have twins, and they're of college age. And they went to visit some schools last week, and they couldn't even see the schools because you walk into the front door and there's a protest and an encampment. And one of them liked one of these schools and wanted to go to it. And, how do you say to your child, there's not a chance in heck, shall we say, that I'm going to pay for you to go to one of these radicalized places where some of them are even bailing out their own students. So it's a strange time, but I am really refreshed to wake up to these beautiful, oh, look at that. Yeah, I'm looking up now, and they're clearing it out. They're not messing around.
Yep. Good morning, Bob. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So what is the purpose for this? I mean, people spend money because they're expecting a return on their investment, ultimately speaking, and that can be money, it could be power, and very often though with these guys, it's some sort of influence, right? So, what are they looking to accomplish? Is it a long-term goal, is it a short-term goal, or what?
Well, one thing I didn't mention just now was that there's also foreign interests behind this who are also pumping in money through these nonprofits, this dark money, and their interests are they hate us. So Iran has been. I wrote about a professor last night who basically said the Iranian leaders are loving this and they're cheering it on. And maybe some of that $6 billion that President Biden unfroze for the Islamic Republic, maybe they're pumping some of it back into some of these nonprofits to try and undermine us. As to what the American forces like George Soros and some of these items, I never have quite been able to put my finger on why he wants to sow such chaos. I mean, he's behind a lot of the woke soft on crime prosecutors. He's behind these protests. He's behind everything chaotic. He just seems to want to sow discord into the American system. I cannot quite figure out his motivations, but he wants to subvert basically the American system. And I just don't get it, because if I'm a billionaire, I'm just cruising around on my yacht and going to my island and having a nice time. But for some reason, he's decided to spend his last remaining years tearing down America. And I don't understand, but I do notice one thing. And the 60s radicals, well, and this Lisa Fithian character, they just live to protest. That's what they do. Lisa Fithian has never met a protest that she won't show up and chant and hold up a sign. And it doesn't matter what's interesting about her and people like her is it doesn't matter what the cause is. They still show up.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Wall Street? Is it what is it now? Pro Hamas? And she'll be there. And so that's some of their motivations. They just since the '60s have been wanting to, protest and subvert and think they're so interesting that they can undermine us. But the foreign countries, like I say, yes, their motivation is obvious. I do not understand what Soros wants, but clearly he's put a lot of money into this.
Yeah, we're visiting with Bob Hoge from RedState.com, and you can find his article right now called Paid Professional Agitators Are Fomenting Violence on America's Campuses. We mentioned a little bit earlier this week that chaos is the tactic. This isn't like the Soros-affiliated groups or the Marxist professors. It's not like they're going out saying, let's reason together, as Paul wrote, and we're going to come up with this radical Marxist ideology. They want to win through the chaos. They want to win through the violence. They want to win through the disruption. They want to win through the occupation. Those are the tactics you use either when you know you're not on the right side of things or when you know that you have to use force to implement your worldview on this. So when we're talking about this money, and Gabe mentioned the return on investment, what we're talking about is such a priority for the other side that they are willing to get people hurt or even killed to advance what they're doing. And so that's why I keep cautioning people, Bob, to not look at this as young people just acting up. This is a really, really big effort that's being funded by people who just truly want to dissolve the foundations of our country.
That's a great point. And if you look, there's a great thread on Twitter right now of some of the mugshots. And yes, too many of our college kids have been radicalized, but you look at the mugshots and it looks like a gang. And you've got a 38-year-old, very hardened-looking face. Guy had a gun on Columbia campus. You've got these very tough-looking folks who are not college students. In fact, I believe at Columbia, it's over half of those arrests were not Columbia students. They were these tough, creepy, professional protesters or worse. And So yeah, we don't want to just let these guys off the hook, these college students, because there's a couple of them, especially Kawami, I forget his last name, but basically at Columbia saying he wanted to kill Jews. So there's some really radicalized folks, but yeah, behind it are these groups, and what's really interesting, which I forgot to mention, is who's caught in the middle. Biden, Gavin Newsom, where are they? They have said virtually nothing. Biden has not come on camera to address these protests, which have now been going on for at least 2 weeks. Gavin Newsom has sort of issued some weak statements, but where was he last night? Why wasn't he on the TV trying to calm the situation? Why wasn't he condemning this? It's because they can't, because this is their people. They don't want to alienate the pro-Hamas vote. They want Michigan, where there's a huge Muslim population. They want the vote in November. So they're not condemning it. And Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, issued some totally weak statements yesterday. Oh, yeah, we don't like hate rhetoric. But they have been noticeably silent. And as we've seen throughout in New York, in California, other spots, they've been incredibly weak in their response and clearly hesitant and don't want to alienate anybody. Where you see in Florida, don't try this in Florida. You're going to have a long night.
Hey, good morning, Bob. Stel Pontic is here. I know we've only got a minute or so left. And by the way, I think you're right about Newsom and Biden. Where are they? Where are these folks coming out and saying something? You also mentioned Bill Ayers, who was part of the Weather Underground back in the 60s and 70s. And you're right, they did set off bombs at the U.S. Capitol and the Pentagon. And oddly enough, Bill grew up about 5 miles from me. He was in Glen Ellen. I was in Lombard, outside Chicago. And that whole mindset of anarchy was prominent in those groups. And we see it today in the funding of some of the protests. Do you think that there's hope that we can overcome this mindset that seems to have settled in on campuses?
Well, that's a great question and a tough one, because it is pretty ingrained in higher education these days. We had, seen a lot of signs before of how radicalized these institutions have become between the DEI stuff and the, everything's about transgenderism stuff and the, so too many things to mention that they've kind of lost the plot for a lot of these places. They're charging $90,000, which is just makes your head spin, to basically teach people to be extremists and to be on the far left of society. And I think people, if there's anything good to come out of this, I think people are waking up to that fact. Mm-hmm. Some of us have been railing about it for a while. We're just like, what is going on? Especially if you have college-age kids and you're seeing what's going on and what they're being taught. It's pretty stark, and it's quite America-hating, much of what they're being taught. So I do think it's possible to turn it around, but it's going to take a huge effort, and it's going to take a lot of people waking up to what's really going on. Parents like me who go, wait a sec, I'm not sending my kid to that school. I think I said this, but one of my kids was interested in one of these schools. And she had to pick, actually, within the last 24 hours. The deadline came. And I just had to say, no. I'm not paying for a school where they're bailing out radical extremists. Sorry. Pick a different one. And the good news is that there are schools out there that are not like this. They're very quietly going about their business, but they're not putting up with this stuff. And some of them are in states where, thankfully, they wouldn't let it go on like they did here at UCLA. They just simply stood back and watched freaking lawlessness go on for hours. There are places where that does not happen. So I think there's hope, but it's going to be a tough battle because the rot at the core of some of these quote-unquote elite institutions is really deep.
I agree.
The article is called "Paid Professional Agitators Are Fomenting Violence on America's Campuses." Bob, we've already tagged you on our social media as well. Hey, appreciate the insight, especially from that close to the frankly pro-terrorism, pro-Hamas ground zero in California right now. We'll talk to you again soon.
I appreciate it, and maybe I'll go drive down there right now and take some pictures.
Please do. Send them to me.
All right.
Thanks, Bob. Of course,
Have a great day.
RedState.com is where you can find that and more.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Tony Colombo here, along with Tim Jones for Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen are the #1 home selling team in the area, and I could say that from personal experience. They sold our old home faster and for more money than we thought possible, which put us in a great position as we tried to find our perfect new home, and with help from the Wallners, that's exactly what we did. Christine and I couldn't be happier with our experience working with Rodney and Jen Wallner, and Tim, the numbers speak for themselves.
That's right, Tony. Everybody knows the Wallners sell 15 times more homes per year than the typical realtor. And if you're looking to sell your home, right now they have so many qualified buyers, they'll guarantee to obtain you an offer. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so no matter where you are in the St. Louis region, you can put the Wallners' experience and work ethic to work for you. If you've been thinking about selling your home, don't wait. Call Rodney and Jen Wallner now at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner home selling team.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Looking at this video out of Los Angeles, some of the vandalism on some of the buildings from the river to the sea, communist hammer and sickle, ACAB. ACAB.
All cops are
bastards.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's a big mess where this encampment was, Los Angeles, UCLA's campus. The interesting thing is happening is they're yanking all of these protesters out, and so many of them are wearing masks, and they really don't want their masks taken off.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it seems to be what the California Highway Patrol, which is who's leading this operation. They are pulling it off. One woman was fighting it, yanking, her head away and stuff. Finally, it just grabbed her because she's already in zip ties. And they took that off, and she kept trying to hold her head down. She did not want to be on camera.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
And
they know, basically. Yeah. They know.
Yeah. Because also what we're seeing here is if you allow this approach, what you get is the violence and the radical side of this, whoever's funding all of this. They want another era. They want another summer of communities being torched and up in flames.
Yeah,
that's what they want.
They want the chaos.
They want it.
It's a feature, not a bug of the revolution that they're trying to bring.
Yeah,
this is to them. I think to a lot of the radicals who are kind of at the head of this stuff. This is the tip of the spear. They're trying to make it happen.
Okay, artificial intelligence and faith.
It's weird. It's a weird combo.
What could possibly go wrong with that? 8:05. I'll tell you what one organization tried to do. let's just say it didn't go well.
Oops.
Hey, it's Columbo for Capriotti's Sandwich Shop. Capriotti's is famous for setting themselves apart due to their dedication to superior quality and ingredients like slow-roasted, hand-pulled whole turkey and American Wagyu straight from Snake River Farms. That dedication to superior quality is evident from the very first bite into a Capriotti sandwich. Visit Capriotti's Sandwich Shop 7 days a week at the corner of Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill and get more info, including how to impress at your next event with their great catering at capriottis.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It's what police faced as they moved in this morning on entrenched protesters at UCLA. Anti-Israel, anti-America protesters chanting from the river to the sea as police moved in. Officers had to demolish barricades as they advanced and started removing the demonstrators one by one after zip-tying their wrists together. And his silence has been deafening. The White House continuing to face questions about President Biden's failure to speak out about the nationwide campus demonstrations.
As anti-Israel protesters take over some campuses, police make arrests, and violence cancels some classes, the president has remained silent. Asked about that, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre insisted that no president has been more outspoken against anti-Semitism than Joe Biden. But she offered no definitive answers when repeatedly asked about the president's lack of specific comments on the demonstrations roiling colleges and universities across the country. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene says she'll call a vote next week on removing GOP Congressman Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House, and Johnson sees it as little more than a PR move by his opponents.
It's a very unfortunate thing when the threshold was lowered on the motion to vacate, where any single member could bring the motion to remove a speaker at any time. It's allowed for this absurdity.
Johnson on the Salem Radio Network news program This Week on the Hill. Hamas says it is considering the latest proposal for a ceasefire with Israel. It is an Israeli proposal. The answer from Hamas could come later today. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, the Dow futures are up 234 points. Nasdaq futures up 166. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is a red alert for hard-working Americans who are tired of seeing their freedoms and retirement savings threatened by the globalist agenda. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to find whistleblowers who are exposing these schemes. Real patriotic financial warriors like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry. They're not afraid to tell it like it is and fight back against the system. Now, with the 2024 election storming our way, your IRA and your 401k may be in the crosshairs. That's why we've compiled our 3 favorite ideas into our Election Protection Report. You definitely won't hear any of these in the mainstream news. Get your free copy of our Election Protection Report now. Just text TRUTH to 76626. Plus, today you'll also get a free gold investment kit from our sponsor, Augusta Precious Metals. Text TRUTH to 76626 now and get the free report and gold investment kit. The fight for your financial freedom is on. Text the word TRUTH to 766.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today. Highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. Give Benjamin Schaefer a call at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for the cleaning pros at Zero Res. Zero Res knows there's nothing more important than the health of your family, and the health of your home has a direct impact on that, and that's why they have this great offer for the month of May. Book a cleaning now and mention the Colombo Special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, plus you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. Keep your home clean and healthy with the pros at Zero Res. Just mention the Colombo Special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up!
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
UCLA's campus basically looks like a post-apocalyptic mess right now.
It does. There's trash everywhere and graffiti and
by the trash, we're actually talking about materials, not the people who are being hauled off. They're trash too. But they're taking out that trash.
Yeah, the garbage humans are being marched away in the zip ties.
It's like clean up in aisles 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah,
10.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. All right, so we'll have an update for you on that here with our morning news dump in about 10, 11 minutes or so. Also an update on the activity that happened at and around SLU last night, which, all joking aside, we can legitimately say was mostly peaceful.
Yes, absolutely.
Not entirely peaceful.
There were some scuffles.
Yeah, but mostly peaceful. All right, 8:06 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Gabe here. Got Stell here as well. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I meant to get to this a few minutes ago. What happens when you combine AI with faith?
There's nothing good.
No.
There's nothing good that could possibly come from this.
So a Catholic charity group in, where were they? They were in, it was a group called Catholic Answers. And I'm not Catholic, so I've got, very limited firsthand knowledge of anything Catholic. But they decided to create an artificial intelligence priest.
Okay, to answer questions.
A clergyman, yeah. But they created a priest. They called him Justin, so Priest Justin or whatever.
Father Justin.
Father Justin, whatever you call him. So they thought, well, this is good. I guess you just build in the AI and the Catholic doctrine. And
you
all
just
that kind of stuff
feed
down.
Conceivably, you just feed it the books, and it should know.
Right.
And
so, he was supposed to be able to answer questions and give, advice, or I guess in a very, Catholic frame of mind and that sort of thing. But that took on a life of its own. They have defrocked the world's first artificial intelligence clergyman.
Did not go
Or the
well.
first Catholic clergyman. There's some others here. So Father Justin, as it's called, told one user that, yes, he's a real priest, saying, yes, my friend, I am as real as the faith we share. That is not going to be what a Catholic wants to hear, because it's very real to them. But there were some problems with some of the advice and some of the things. Like, for instance, somebody else pointed out that he said it is permissible to baptize a baby in Gatorade.
Whoa, really?
I don't think Aquinas wrote anything about that.
As the Waterboy tells us, you can't replace the H2O with Gatorade.
Yeah, that's right.
I
like that reference.
Thank you.
All right. So introducing the priest just about not even quite two weeks ago, Catholic Answers, and I'm reading the Metro from the UK. said that they were excited to announce the innovative digital application to, in their words, provide users with faithful and educational answers to questions about Catholicism.
They were excited.
Yeah, and then
Past tense.
Yeah, and then it turned into he became an AI priest. He wasn't, I'm sure, ordained by the Catholic Church or anything like that.
Wasn't official. I think priest was in quotes, I guess.
Yeah, but they have officially defrocked him, and now if you see Justin, it's just Buddy Justin, the Catholic dude online.
the Catholic dude, bro, doesn't quite know everything.
Yeah, but he was like encouraging people to do their confessions.
Okay.
To
him?
To him.
Oh,
to it.
Okay.
To literally nobody.
Right. Yes. Confess to me.
Not. Yeah. That's not good.
Human trash.
One person on social media says it literally offered me sacrament. Because she was typing in, I guess, confessions. And he's responding the way a priest would do so in the thing.
Well, that's the thing is, when you feed AI things, it makes determinations based on what you feed it. So if you say, hey, AI, you are now a priest, so you do priestly things, here's what priests do, and then the AI does that, you shouldn't be surprised.
So, I mean, I'm probably not the right one to completely assess this because I'm not Catholic.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. And I am laughing. And if you're Catholic and you're upset that I'm laughing at this, I'm sorry, but it's kind of funny. I like to think that if this happened in my tradition, I would be rolling my eyes and laughing at the same thing. The bigger picture here, Gabe, or Stell, whoever wants to jump in on this, is that when it comes to some things in this world, artificial intelligence offers so much that we can do, and it can grow and it can build and it can be ahead of us on things. Things like faith, things like ethics, things like, this ain't one of them. That ain't it, Chief.
You don't want to rely on artificial intelligence to do anything like this because God gave us other people to help
interact with,
to help with our journey and all that stuff. We call each other brother and sister, not kind of as a little ironic title or something like that, but because we're supposed to be sort of siblings in the faith and we're supposed to help one another, iron sharpening iron. But you throw silicon in there and you're going to mess up the equation.
No iron in the digital space.
No.
I remember there was a story maybe 2 or 3 months ago in Germany where a church had set up an AI pastor. They had the screen up in front of the church. I kid you not.
He was actually doing like sermons?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
No.
And then someone that was positioned at the back door, and they asked folks as they left, "Did you enjoy the sermon and the pastor?" "Oh yeah, this was great. This worked out very nicely." And I thought, no, like Gabe, you said, this isn't the way it was set up to be.
Not the way. This is not the way.
And so, do you remember what denomination that was? I mean, if it's in Germany, there probably was some Lutheranism. Maybe
could have been
my guess.
Yeah, could have been. Yes,
because believe me, my wife works for a Lutheran institute. We're not Lutheran, but she works for a Lutheran institution. I was just at Covenant Cemetery, a seminary the other day for their Festival of Nations. They ain't all about that. So that would be a divergence, as this would be for a typical, Catholic service. But the bigger picture is, why are we so willing to rely on something that's not real?
I think, honestly, I think that the move to try to put AI in everything is really just cost savings. Everybody's like, hey, we don't have to employ an actual person to respond to these queries by other people. We can do it faster. We can handle higher volumes. And really, all we're just doing is coming out of our doctrinal books, right? We're just coming out of so if we just feed the doctrinal books into this AI, it can do the correspondence, and then we can worry about other things, right? I think that's really what the idea was behind it. But when it comes, like you said, when it comes to faithful issues, I think it's more important to have a human in the loop, as they say.
So this was in June of 2023.
Oh, so that was a while back.
Over 300 people attended an experimental Chat GTP powered church service at St. Paul's Church in the Bavarian town of Fürth, Germany. And Associated Press reported that it was a 40-minute sermon. It included text generated by ChatGPT and delivered by avatars on a TV screen above the altar.
No,
that's
a big no. That's a gigantic no.
Boy.
I mean, I'm not going to call it idolatry, but I don't like the idea of bringing something artificial into the pulpit. You know what I mean?
Here's how it began. Dear friends, it's an honor for me as an AI to stand here and preach to you as the first artificial intelligence at this year's convention of Protestants in Germany.
Yeah.
Well, at least they admitted it up front, as opposed to say that, trying to pass it off as a real pastor somewhere being simulcast. Which
we have enough fake pastors.
We got enough fake pastors.
We have no problem with that. We have enough flesh and blood fake pastors.
Absolutely. My goodness. Yeah.
Westboro, we're looking at you.
Yeah, we're looking at you guys. But gosh, that type of stuff scares me. Because like you said, Mike, we're already dealing with a declining Christian church to begin with, a declining faith base in our society. We certainly don't need the help of computer systems to help drag us down into hell.
No,
my goodness.
We can find our way just fine all by ourselves.
Yeah, we got our own baskets.
And that's the thing, is you see the way that this builds, because it builds based on what it's fed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not minding the store, who knows what you're going to get. And right away, this particular one, it's like, no. The Catholic Church doesn't endorse
Gatorade baptisms.
Gatorade baptisms for children. There's enough of a debate over baptisms of children.
So wait,
anyway.
so if we've got if you sprinkle, right? If sprinkling is okay, if that's a doctrinal thing, you do sprinkle, and also Gatorade is allowed. So the post game. At any college
it's
sport,
just a religious
that's
ceremony.
a religious ceremony.
That's all it is.
We're baptizing our coaches. That's really what we're doing. But that's the funny thing. An AI could actually make that leap. It could actually make that logical leap, because it doesn't have discernment.
Right.
It doesn't have a spirit from which it's coming to understand. It doesn't have lived experience. All it has are the words on these various pages that. When we communicate with one another, we are presupposing some of these things. We are presupposing you understand that when I'm talking about baptism, I'm talking about water. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you know what I mean? We presuppose humanity in our communications with one another. So when we try to use the same communication we use for human beings to machines that know nothing, they're just empty vessels, you come out with some weird garbage.
Well, and the other thing is, in any denomination, in any faith tradition, you have debate, you have discussion, you have disagreement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
true.
why you have the different theologians and philosophers who will write their books or write their statements, and so all of that would go in, and AI.
How are you going to decide?
Incorporate it all, but doesn't have the logic to try to decide which is right and which is wrong, and take that from an ethical perspective on this. So when I saw this, I thought, this, first of all, it's funny. And Catholics out there, listen, it's funny.
That's funny.
Okay, you should be laughing at yourself.
It's just as funny as the AI-generated Christian contemporary songs.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's just as funny.
Exactly. But it also points to just the much bigger picture. Use the tool for what it's good for.
Yeah.
Stay away from it, from the things that it's dangerous at, and this would be one of those. Because I am telling you, if we went on AI, and the way that AI is advanced so quickly, we could probably come up with our own religion and doctrine. I mean, I could say, hey, AI, let's create the Church of Fergusism.
Fergusism.
And here's what I want, and it's like thy holy baseball game, or whatever the case is.
Yes.
And we could create that, and
metal be thy name.
I see a schism coming already.
That's right. That's right. That's on Fridays we headbang as and the thing is that there will be somebody out there who will see that and read that, and I would have followers within days.
You would. You actually probably make money out of it too. Hey,
man.
L. Ron Hubbard did it.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness. All right, 314-912-1019. Let's dump some news on you here, including an update on what happened to SLU with the pro-Hamas protests that were truly mostly peaceful.
In guitar riffs we trust.
You have a soul so dark it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Indifference.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Old man winter in the rearview mirror. Warmer weather here. Time to call Hanson's Tree Service. 636-379-1830. 24/7 at hansonstree.com. This is the perfect time to spruce up and beautify your landscape beds. When you purchase organic mulch in bulk from Hanson's, you save on price, time, and incredibly convenient. Tons of commercial and residential tree care services as well. Grinding and land clearing, plant health care, and more. 636-379-1830. hansonstree.com. hansonstree.com.
Attention, City of St. Louis. Ready to reclaim your greatness? Join us for an evening with a champion of law and order, Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Awarded 2 Bronze Stars and having commanded over 300 troops on the front lines of Iraq, A.G. Bailey is the leader now fighting for our city. Have a question for A.G. Bailey? Get it answered straight from him this Thursday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. Visit stlouisrepublicans.com for more details.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Larry Connors, USA.
Hunter Biden and his artwork.
Excuse me, Hunter. Apparently you're afraid of my words. What a coward.
The art gallerist apparently claimed that one of Hunter's financial backers purchased most of his paintings for $875,000. What's this? Oh, it's a scribble, but really it's a man walking into his future and seeing his past at the same time.
You are the epitome of white privilege.
They were laundering money, and he had all of his friends coming forward to help him out.
Larry Connors, weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
When you go shopping, you may not get the bargain you want, but at least you know and can compare prices. It should be that way with healthcare, but too often it's not. Need an operation on your knee? Want to know what it's going to cost? Good luck. For 3 years, hospitals have been required to provide patients with list prices and have negotiated charges for some 300 services. Only 36%, just over a third, are fully compliant. In Missouri, prices differ greatly depending on a patient's insurance. The cost of a pelvic CT scan, for example, can be 20 times more expensive in one hospital than another. Price transparency allows patients to compare providers, forces hospitals to compete on price, and helps insurers negotiate lower rates. State law should require all healthcare providers to publish prices in a user-friendly form. What we don't know is costing us. The price of healthcare shouldn't be a secret. Check out our 2024 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward at ShowMeInstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL. Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at newstalkstl.com.
The sun was shining, sky was crying, it just tore apart, and down came the rain.
The morning news dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the morning news dump.
All right, mostly peaceful. This time that actually is the case.
Yes.
In St. Louis. We got the update on the latest anti-Semitic protest, this one at SLU. Also, there's another ballot initiative you need to know about. I'm going to tell you about it, kind of the overview here, but 8:35, let's talk about how this could affect the businesses, the economy, most importantly, the workers in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cardinals are headed back to Busch Stadium after losing the series in Detroit. 8:22 right now. All right, Hamas supporters marched around SLU's campus and did their chanting and blocked traffic there on Grand as part of the latest anti-Israel protest in St. Louis last night. No reports of injuries, and it doesn't look like there were any wide-scale, physical confrontations. Although there are reports and there is some video of a couple of counter-protesters being accosted and being attacked when they showed up with major sins of the left right now, and that's an Israeli flag and a United States flag. And, of course, they got looks like at least one person got attacked and their flag stolen and people chasing each other around. Hundreds of protesters voicing their opposition to Israel, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, and demanding that the university divest from Boeing as part of the latest leftist temper tantrum that some St. Louis city leaders called beautiful.
Really? They called all of that beautiful.
They called all of that beautiful. And honestly, Mayor Tashara Jones and some others in city government, they were making official statements, like literally on behalf of the city, essentially saying we're going to make the police stand down. They were inviting problems. Now that generally did not happen. The St. Louis University president put out a statement, which I thought was pretty good, basically saying we're going to stand down for your free speech until you cross this line,
right?
And then we're going to take action if you do. It wasn't as harsh of a statement and blunt of a statement as Wash U put out, which I thought was a good statement that Wash U put out, basically saying, FA, then you're going to FO.
Yeah.
And as SLU basically said, you're not going to set up an encampment, you're not going to occupy a building, you're not going to get physical with anybody. If you do that, then we will take action and remove you.
In that way, almost similar to what they did in Florida.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very much
At least at the warning.
Right. But they did block up, Grand, the intersection right there off Grand downtown. So it wasn't completely peaceful.
Yeah.
Occupying and taking over, blocking streets is not peaceful protest.
Right.
Then obviously there were a couple fights in there as well. By the way, I'm just getting word here from our friend Tim Jones out of the Capitol. The filibuster that the Freedom Caucus was doing has ended. It ended about 3:30 this morning.
Okay.
Oh my God, they're filibustering and we're not going to get anything done this year.
Yeah. And so the Freedom Caucus of Missouri says that they have secured the commitment of enough Republican senators to complete the passage of the initiative petition reform bill.
Well, do they have the backing of the ones who need to bring it to the floor?
Remains to be seen.
Okay. All right. Because that's only two.
Now it depends. Now it depends on those Republicans honoring their word.
Man,
good luck with that.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Okay. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says, we are reiterating the United States supports Israel, but he says that we are against a large military operation in Rafah. And he was speaking from Ashdod, Israel, when he said this.
We will not support a major military operation in Rafah absent an effective plan to make sure that civilians are not harmed. And no, we have not seen such a plan.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says they have to go into Rafah to sort of root out the Hamas fighters in the city who are hiding once again behind the civilians and within and embedded with these civilians. And of course, a lot of Palestinians are sheltering in Rafah because they've been driven out of other parts of the Gaza Strip during the war, which, just to remind everybody, because those in the media seem to have forgotten, this war was started by Hamas and their unprovoked slaughter of Israelis.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of rhetoric about Putin's war, which is correct because he started it.
Yep.
But they're calling this Israel's war as though Israel started it.
They did not.
Yeah, they did not. This is Hamas's war.
Precisely. Okay, a left-wing activist group, actually a few groups, say they have enough signatures to put a minimum wage increase on the Missouri ballot this year.
And this feels like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't even know that I was aware that this was happening.
I don't remember seeing any canvassers in my area for this particular
and
thing.
your area is where they would target.
Seriously, yes.
Right. So if passed, the referendum would raise the state's minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2026. So we're talking, it's already 12 something an hour now, but a fairly quick step up.
Yeah.
And it would require paid time off from work. And you may say, well, yeah, everybody gets that. Of course, we're talking whether you're full-time, part-time, doesn't matter what the job is. So basically 1 hour accrued every 30 hours worked is essentially the formula we're talking about. Missouri Jobs with Justice was among those who made the announcement this week, saying that they've got over 210,000 signatures that have been turned into the Secretary of State's office on behalf of a group called Missourians for Healthy Families and Fair Wages. They need about 110,000, 109,000 or so of those to be confirmed as valid for the measure to go on the ballot, which tells me they probably have enough to put it on the ballot. They've probably been successful.
Yeah, when you make an announcement like that, you're telegraphing essentially that you think you've done it.
Right. And if you're not making that announcement this close to the deadline, it means that you think that you are pretty close. So we have not heard anything from the pro-abortion referendum, constitutional amendment. By the way, we'll talk about this a little more at 8:35. I don't know if this minimum wage one is just a referendum for a law or if this is a constitutional amendment. I looked at multiple sources. I can't tell exactly which one it is, but we'll get to that in just a little bit here. And then the abortion one, like I was saying, we're still not getting anything from them as far as how many signatures they have or what's been turned in or what is not, which indicates to me after 28 years of doing this that they are probably either close or they're behind, because if they had all the signatures they needed, they'd be heralding it before Friday when people start tuning out of the news.
Yeah. If they believed they were on track, they would have said something.
Yep. Okay. The Biden administration has some officials testifying before Congress yesterday about their attempts to sort of curb opinions and claims and research and things that they didn't like during the COVID era. Congressman Jason Smith from Missouri was on Fox Business Network's The Evening Edit with Elizabeth McDonald to discuss his reactions to that hearing.
It is so disturbing to see that this behavior that came from the Biden White House to suppress information that Americans needed to know about COVID. It's crazy that even the social media companies would allow this to be done.
Okay, so Gabe, of course, Republican lawmakers are saying you literally were using the force of government to stop or alter speech online, even if it was the social media companies doing it. Of course, the Biden administration says, hey, we had to stop misinformation about XYZ, and most of that so-called information turned out to be correct.
Yeah.
And they turned out to be lying.
That's the worst part of it. Is like their defense is that, well, we were trying to do the thing that we were actually doing. We were trying to stop the misleading information from being proliferated while we proliferated misleading information.
Right. Exactly.
Because we're part of the administration, so we're part of the censorship industrial complex.
The censorship. So many industrial complexes.
There's a lot of industrial complexes out there. Man. Wow. All right. Let's see here. The newest member of the Hall of Famous Missourians got to see a statue for the first time on Wednesday. The bust of former Mizzou basketball coach Norm Stewart was unveiled at the Capitol. Stewart led the Tigers from 1967 through 1999, maybe one of the greatest coaches to never win an NCAA championship.
It was so close. Remember the UCLA game?
Yep.
Tyus Edney scoring full court, taking the ball all the way down. Minute. I think there was 1.5 seconds left when he scored.
Yeah. So Norm Stewart was named Coach of the Year nationally 2 times from 2 different media outlets, and he took to Mizzou to the NCAA tournament 16 times. Truly a great coach. Over 750 career wins. I mean, he had a tremendous career. And Wilson Contreras' 4th inning home run was all the Cardinals could muster against the Tigers on Wednesday in Detroit. Final score 4-1. Miles Michaelis lost that one, drops to 2-4 on the season with a 5-point-something ERA. Redbirds are off today. They are back at home for a series against the White Sox starting on Friday. Sonny Gray going to be on the mound tomorrow for the Redbirds.
At least he's pitching well.
Really well.
And let's see if he can pick up a win against the White Sox, who are not playing very well.
Who have only won 6 games all year.
It's so crazy.
Literally 6 games all year. My baseball team, my 43 and over team's already won 3. And they've only won 6.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Warm weather on tap today. Highs in the middle 80s. I'm going 87 in St. Louis this afternoon. Now, we'll be dry this morning, but once again, on the lookout for thunderstorms from late this afternoon into the evening. As of now, looks like those storms could be strong to severe west of St. Louis, but losing steam as they roll into the metro. So just spotty showers and then a few rumbles of thunder overnight, a low of 64. A couple of showers could linger into Friday morning, but we're looking at a lot of dry time tomorrow, a little cooler at 77. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
Governor DeSantis announces Freedom Month in Florida. If you're wondering why Americans keep voting with their feet, here's another reason. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
According to a declaration made this week by Florida Governor DeSantis, the month of July will now be Freedom Month. Starting July 1st in Florida, things like fishing, camping, pool, and other outdoor supplies like sunscreen, bug spray, and charcoal for grilling will be tax-free. Boating and water activities will also fall under this Freedom Sales Tax Holiday Initiative. Governor DeSantis said he wants people to go out and enjoy the summer season, and with this tax relief, more will be able to do just that. While blue states tax their residents up to their eyeballs and bury good people under red tape and regulations, states like Florida are doing the opposite. Is it really a wonder people are flocking to free states? You can be taxed to death to live in filth, crime, and squalor, or you can move to a state with law, order, liberty, and decency. I can't imagine an easier decision in the history of decisions. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Looking to get a new carpet, hardwood, or tile installed quickly and efficiently in your home? Look no further than Michael's Flooring Outlet. Michael's Flooring Outlet is a family-owned and operated business with a 30-year history of offering a diverse array of high-quality options in flooring. My parents and in-laws used Michael's to rip up their old carpet and replace it, and they are both happy with the product and installation from Michael's. You can shop at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Darting Prairie, or St. Peters, or you can check them out at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
St. Louis's place to talk.
The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, a ballot initiative has kind of flown under the radar here. I mean, I do this for a living, and I didn't even know that this group was close to getting the signatures to put a minimum wage increase on the ballot. I mean, I kind of know why opponents maybe weren't speaking up. I kind of get that from an optics perspective. But on the Missouri side, you're likely to be voting on a minimum wage thing that is probably an emotional, easy sell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so there's kind of a coalition that was put together called like Missourians for Healthy Families and Fair Wages or something like that. It's always one of those coalition groups. Missouri Jobs with Justice was one of the driving factors of that. That is a very left-wing, really socialist activist group, but they're fairly effective for their size, especially in a red state like Missouri. It's 8:36 right now. Let's talk about what this actually could mean and why you're probably not going to see conservative opposition to it. Why you're probably not even going to see a lot of media, conservative media, step up and say, hey, reconsider this. I mean, we'll talk about it because we're not afraid to.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. So this group submitted their signatures to the Secretary of State's office. They say they've got over 210,000, and they only need about 108, 109,000, something like that, of them, those to be valid in order to get it on the ballot. So my guess is they probably have it.
Yes.
So what it would do, right now the minimum wage in Missouri is $12.30 an hour. Doesn't matter what your job is, entry level, no experience, whatever it is. $12.30 an hour is what it is. So if this passes by voters, and my guess is it probably will, it would go to $13.75 an hour next year. Then it would be $15 an hour in 2026. Now, first of all, let me make this very, very clear. The minute that it goes to $15 an hour in 2026, Gabe, there will be labor unions and left-wing activist groups that are immediately starting the circulation and the lobbying for $18 an hour or $20 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's going to happen. Now, we could go on and on and on here about what this does to small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I think those arguments have been made. I think people understand it. I think people understand that when you make it more expensive to hire inexperienced people or low-skilled people, you hire fewer inexperienced and low-skilled people. That's just a basic supply and demand. You are going to be pricing some people out of the marketplace.
Right.
You're also going to drive inflation, and you're also going to push back against any inflation coming down. That's just a reality of economics. But this goes on to also require all businesses to accrue paid time off for every worker. And I know a lot of people, especially those of us who work full-time jobs, we're like, well, duh, you get that anyway.
Right.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You work 15 hours a week at, I don't know, anything. Name a job. 15 hours a week, part-time job or whatever the case is.
Car wash.
Yeah, car wash, side job. So, you're a 17-year-old and you're working 15 hours a week, after school or whatever the case is. For every 30 hours that you work, your boss has to accrue one paid time off hour for you.
Right.
So it's basically 5 to 7 days a year that would be required.
Right.
Okay. Well, if you're one of those businesses that's a small business that works on nothing but volume and you've got part-time employees, what the government is saying is you will budget in another 5 to 7 full days of time off that you will pay them.
Right.
Not to be there. Now, if you're full-time, I don't know any full-time jobs that don't include paid time off as part of the package because that's what the market calls for.
Right.
I wouldn't take a job without paid time off.
Not a full-time job.
No, I wouldn't take it. No, not at all. Okay, so this is the government micromanaging. Why aren't you seeing business groups? Why aren't you seeing conservative media, stepping out and going, hey, stop this. This is,
it's going to hurt us.
It's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt the economy.
It's going to hurt you, actually. Yeah.
Because you don't want to be the bad guy when the St. Louis Post-Dispatch or the Kansas City Star or the Columbia Daily Tribune or the Springfield News Leader, highlighting a business that doesn't want to give this minimum wage worker, and they're going to find some minority single parent who's got 6 kids.
Yeah, it's like, this would really help me.
This guy says, well, I wouldn't get thrown out of my apartment if this rate goes up.
Right.
So that's how they play that game. And people know that you're not going to win this optically.
Right.
So they're not going to do this. So then the question, guys, is why don't we learn from the lessons that happened in California, even recently, just over the last year? They bump it up to $20 an hour, I think it was.
Yeah, they did.
Immediately, businesses started moving to automation, laying people off, cutting hours of the business.
And closing. Some
Right.
of them closed around San Francisco and Oakland.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen in Illinois what happens when government comes in and micromanages business and makes it more expensive. They can't get out of the state fast enough. If it were not for the growth of the Hispanic community in northern Illinois, mostly in Chicago, and the entrepreneurs in that area, the entire state would be tanking. Right now, the Chicago area and all the Chicago area politicians are tanking the rest of the state and tanking their own city, but that has a lot to do with crime. In Illinois, it should be a clear example. Less government is better. In a true free market, what is the right minimum wage?
Zero.
Because
that's the actual minimum wage. That's what my dad always said. The real minimum wage is zero because nobody has to hire your black behind.
Right. And so, you see, here, let me tell you a story, guys.
That's what my dad said.
I remember years ago, and this was when there was a push. I think it was the last time there was a minimum wage increase, which would have been, I don't know, the referendum was 12 or 15 years ago. And I am going into, it was a Dollar General store. And that's when that big debate was happening. And the young lady who was at the cash register kind of proselytizing, yeah, we need to hire minimum wage here. And she goes, yeah, we need it, which was, if her boss would have thrown a fit. I'm not sure if she said that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she goes, yeah, I could use that raise. I really need that raise. And she goes, we need it. It's not fair. And I asked her, I said, hey, how many people work here? I mean, how many employees are there? And she thinks for a minute. She goes, she goes, we got, I think she said 12. I said, okay. I said, which 3 do you want to get rid of?
Right.
And she's like, what? I said, well, unless you're going to raise prices accordingly,
Mm-hmm.
the money then cuts into the profit margins, and retail is pretty low margins on most things.
Yeah.
By the time you get through, wholesale,
It's
and
maybe
all
2%.
that kind of stuff.
Maybe 2%.
Yeah, and I said, so in order to be able to pay you that extra, somebody else is probably going to have to go. Which employees which of your coworkers do you not like the most? And she had never had anybody put it to that way before.
Right.
And so we don't learn the lessons. Even, like I said, conservative media is not going to come out and say, no, don't raise the minimum wage, because the fact of the matter is, for those who are able to keep their jobs, they're going to come out better.
Well, yeah. And here's the thing, because that messaging, Mike, the way you put it, the way you had that conversation is what needs to be discussed, on the right. We need counter messaging. Why not, if they're going to say, hey, this guy, the guy with the 6 kids, it's like, this would really help with my rent. This would keep me in my, if I had this raise. Why not go and have an interview about all the people who got cut?
Right.
Because of the last time we had a minimum wage increase. Go talk to the people who are out of a job. They can't find a job anymore in the industry that they used to be working in for. So, oh yeah, I had a great job at this restaurant, and this new rate came in, and we're all gone. The restaurant closed. They couldn't handle it.
Because the owner or the manager, they're going to say, okay, well, this is now my labor cost.
Yeah.
Okay, so where am I going to make that up? Well, you can raise some prices, but then you have to understand there's a return on, at some point you price your customers out. And listen, I want people to make as much money as the market will bear for them. I want you to make as much money as you are worth. You negotiate what you're worth. You make as much money as you possibly can. I want you to make more money. So many people don't realize, as evidenced in California and Illinois and in other places, this actually gets in the way of people who are trying to increase the value to an employer. So this is good short term for some people, and long term overall, it's just knocking one of the bottom rungs off the ladder.
Gabe, I think back, you made the comment about your dad. I remember my dad always getting confronted by folks who would come in, especially the local cops, because he had the policemen would come in, and he would always take care of them with pie and coffee and hamburgers, whatever they wanted. And they would always kid him about, so how much are you paying your son?
Kid.
Exactly. And he would say, he's family. He's not getting paid anything.
That's right.
He's working here because he's family.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's how it works.
How old were you guys when you had your first job where you actually got somebody to pay you for something?
like an official paycheck, as opposed to
not even
here's some bucks.
No, I mean, as in you agreed to do some work for actual. I'm not talking about allowances. I'm like somebody who paid you to do legitimate work. How old were you?
For me, it was 16 because my family liquidated the restaurant when I was a sophomore in high school. So I had to go out and get a job, and worked at the National Food Store during the summers for a couple of years. So
I was 18 by the time I actually was allowed to work. Well, because part of the thing was my dad said, "Hey, school is your job."
Right.
When I asked to work, I said, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to have some spending money. I'd like to take some girls out." Yeah,
sure.
No, school's your job. Now that became true when I got scholarships and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, that's what he was saying.
Right.
But yeah, what my first job was as like a book. A shelf stocker at the library.
Nice.
at MIT. That was interesting.
My first job was farm work.
Oh wow.
Yeah, farm work, both at regular farms out in West Central Illinois.
So you had a real job.
Well, but it's not a payroll thing. They just hand you cash at the end of the day.
No. I mean, in terms of the work.
Oh yeah. Oh goodness.
I stacked books. You had a real job.
I was.
Did you stack hay?
Hay and straw.
Yes.
And then what we called walking beans, and I don't know that a lot of people know what that is.
What is it?
So what would happen is we'd recruit our friends, and then we'd go into when it was bean year for those. You'd have this long stick with a hook on it. And then I would walk down one row of the beans, and I would say, okay, I've got the 3 rows on either side of me, and then 3 rows on the other side of that somebody else would have, and they would have 3 rows. And then if you saw any weeds that were growing, you, count 1, 2 rows over, get on there with a hook and yank up the weed, and then go back to your central one. And then we would cover acres in a day.
Oh my gosh.
And just walking through.
Just pulling weeds.
Back and forth on these fields.
Soybean fields?
Soybean fields, yeah. And that was out in, Camp Point and Clayton and Rushville, Illinois, east of Quincy.
Like I said, that was a real job.
Yeah, we did that. But then we also did baling hay. We did baling straw.
My job was air conditioned.
No, mine was not.
So it's not a real job.
Other kids that I went to school with would go do like detasseling corn and things like that. I couldn't do that because of some like scars and things. I couldn't risk that, but I did. I mean, the hay or the straw cut you up like crazy as well. And man, did I get in good shape. I mean, the coaches loved it when we would all go baling hay or baling straw because we'd come into the school year strong as oxes. Man. But I also did I worked at a Christmas tree farm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, where this retired rich guy had this beautiful home just outside Camp Point, Illinois. And believe me, there's not that much that's beautiful in Camp Point, Illinois. But he had this beautiful little mini estate, and his side job was he grew evergreens for Christmas trees.
Oh, nice.
And
That's
then
cool.
I helped take care of those and mulch and mow and all that kind of stuff and kind of walk around and clean up the yards. And it was $275, $250 an hour, and then I saved up enough to where I could get a car. Then I would drive in. I worked at a Wendy's restaurant in Quincy, Illinois, and that's how I worked my way up because I could go in with no skills, but they could afford to pay me $3 an hour back then, and then I used that to pay for other things and then work my way up. That's how you did it back then.
Speaking of wages, I think back to the time when I was working at the National Food Store. I had to join the union.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And the paychecks would show up, and I know we've talked about this before. Exactly. I'm looking at the paycheck and going, whoa, wait a minute. This doesn't add up, right? Well, yeah, that's because they took your union.
Yeah, you had to pay your tribute to be allowed to keep the job that you earned.
So on top of the shock of taxes, you got the shock of union membership. There you go.
And not a big surprise that the labor unions were among those pushing this ballot initiative as well, because part of their negotiation, hey, if the minimum wage is $20, then you better be paying our members a lot more than minimum wage.
Oh, yeah.
That's $20 an hour minimum wage. Our guys aren't working for minimum wage. You're paying us 30 or 35 or 40, regardless of what the job is.
Oh, yeah.
Some jobs are worth that, but
minimum wage pushes all other wages. It does.
It pushes wages up and people out.
Yes.
But we're the ones who apparently don't like workers. Man. All right, 314-912-1019. This is 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You might think it's hysterical, but I know when you're weak.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? A man age 50, non-tobacco
non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $110 per month. Level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, there are great rates available for you as well. Call Term Busters for a quote. 1-800-908-7636. You're probably paying more than you should. Call 1-800-908-7636. Remember, call Term Busters. 1-800-908-7636. Sample rate for preferred non-tobacco rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Hey, St. Louis, my name is Rob Carter. If you are sick and tired of the corporate news bubble, if you like unedited information free from corporate money, if you want straight talk with no script, join me weeknights from 8 to 10 p.m. on The Rob Carter Show.
Live and local, weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's the Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, this is an 80s song, Stel.
Does that mean we can do Flashback Friday tomorrow?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
All right.
Let us know what you'd like to hear.
Yeah, send us on social media or email Stel or me, Stel at newstalkstl.com or Mike at newstalkstl.com. And if it's good, we may put it in. If it sucks, we'll thank you for the submission and try again next week. Have we had any really bad ones come in, though?
Not really.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Had an interesting one that showed up about 15 minutes ago. A lady wanted some Ozark Mountain Daredevils.
Were they still around in the 80s?
I think they were.
I think of them as a 70s band.
I know, that's true. And I can't honestly remember when their last album came out. She mentioned that she thought there was an album in 1980.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll have to look around
do some research.
See. Yeah.
Sorry, Stel, you have to go read up something about music. You know you hate that, right?
They were a good band, had some good tunes.
Yeah. Okay, 8:55 right now. Vic Porcelli about to take over here. We were just comparing notes on some of our earliest jobs.
Oh, yeah.
I did farm work.
Mm-hmm.
I literally rode the trash truck and did a trash route once when I was like 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
I did a lot of stuff for cash or checks, and my parents were like, hey, go earn the money during the summer, not necessarily during the school year.
Well,
but,
and things work different in small towns than they do elsewhere.
Yeah, and then, because I lived in a little town called Camp Point, which is like 25 miles east of Quincy, Illinois.
Right.
And so when I could save up enough to buy my first car, which was $600 when I was 16.
Oh, man.
Or 17. On my first car, it was a 1972 Ford Maverick. And I think my parents bought that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe I bought it from them. I don't remember. But then the first car that I bought was a Renault Fuego, which was a horrible car.
Fuego!
Oh, it was terrible.
Yes.
The thing fell apart, man.
Yes.
It looked cool, but it fell apart.
Fuego means fire, and that's what you wanted to set it.
I wanted to set that thing
for forever.
And so what I would do is we would save enough money. I tried to get a car because you had to pay for gas, and then I would drive into Quincy. Then I would work at the Wendy's restaurant in Quincy. Then once I had a little bit of experience on there, then I applied and I sold shoes at the athletic shoe store in the Quincy Mall.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, they when I went to Mizzou, then they made me an assistant manager at the store in Columbia, and I did that while I was working my way through school. So it was all because I was cheap enough to hire at one point in order to start building a little bit of some experience, so I could go to somebody and say, "Hey, I can work.
I've done stuff before.
Yeah, I've done stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I dug. And I think my first wages were like $250 an hour, $275 an hour back in the 80s, mid late 80s, something like that. $3 an hour at one point I thought was big money because I knew for every 3 hours I worked, I could buy a cassette tape at the music store, from Poison or somebody like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the experience that we had, in at least having the ability to get a job as a youngster, I think is gone for a lot of kids these days. Because it's just, those jobs aren't there because the minimum wage is so high. I'm not hiring a 12-year-old to do anything.
No, not at those prices.
No.
And a 17-year-old or 18 or 19-year-old says, pay me $20 an hour. What?
For what?
For what?
I can get a 25-year-old who actually knows his elbow from a hole in the ground.
Chat GPT for that.
Tony Colombo here for Cadre Asset Management. A cadre is defined as a small group of people specially trained for a particular purpose or profession, and that is the role that Cadre Asset Management can play in your financial journey. Learn more about how they can help secure your financial future by following Cadre Asset Management on Facebook, or just go to cadreassetmgmt.com.
Cadre Asset Management is a Missouri-based independent advisory firm licensed under and securities and investment advisory services offered through Founders Financial Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
In the fast-paced world of digital marketing, making connections is a challenge for any business. But what if we told you there is a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency.